We're back. 2 weeks is a long time in Super League Triathlon, and after what I guess you would call as a mid-season break, we arrive here in Toulouse, a bubbling city in southern France, steeped in history, but very much on the cutting edge in technology, in education, in aeronautics, and now in triathlon. A brand new course and two very delicately poised championship races. The last shots are about to be fired before the grand final on the 29th of October. Who has something left in the tank? That is the question. Round 4 of Super League Triathlon starts right now.
Being in a Super League race is like being in a fight with a bear.
Intense, high pressured.
It rips you apart.
The fight's real from the start.
It burns your lungs.
Willing to put everything on the line.
The pace and intensity is way higher than any other triathlon discipline.
Oh, there's a crash at the back.
Best athletes in the world.
Winning is addictive. There's no better feeling.
This is what Super League racing is all about.
This is the future of professional triathlon. If you don't see that, then you're not paying attention.
All new surroundings, but the same old pain faces. A familiar format greets 40 of the very best multi-sport athletes in the world here in Toulouse. Once again, they face the triple mix. 3 triathlons back-to-back, but we mix the order. We start with swim, bike and run, but then the order shifts for stage 2, with each second lost across those 2 stages to be paid for in the stage 3 pursuit start. As always, the short shoot is on offer for those teams that have athletes across the line first in the opening swim, the opening bike and the opening run. That can be taken in the stage 3 run home twice today, and it all takes place on a course that is sure to bring the thrills and spills. Just ask triathlon legend Tim Don.
Toulouse, the pink city, south of France, a nice quiet weekend, cafe culture. Hold on a minute, it's the triple mix. Let me tell you, this course is unique. The first river swim in Super League. There's a current from left to right. Once you've battled the current to the first 4, you turn left and you hit the current head on. Turn left with that side current out. Cannot make a slip getting out the water because the transition run is so short. It's a 4-lap bike. This is the ideal straight where you want to put your feet in your shoes because you'll be up to full speed and you want to carry on that momentum. Then you hit the snake, sharp descending with a right, then a left, and then you hit the apex, past the short chute, along the river, going at breakneck speed. You are going to hit that transition so fast. Only a 1-lap run, trainers on, back up the hill. Your legs are going to be burning, your lungs are going to be burning. Do you go all in and go for break, or do you wait, sit back and catch everyone up along the straight? The descent's so steep with that corner, there's no flow. It's going to be really, really interesting to see all the athletes, how they deal with this course. Are the stronger runners going to run through, or is it going to be the all-round athlete that becomes the champion here in Toulouse?
There is no doubt that this course is one of the stars of the show, but there are plenty more about to hit the course in about 5 minutes' time. Taylor Spivey and Georgia Taylor-Brown, a race in 2 for the title, but there are so many more to play out.
Nothing can slow down Georgia Taylor-Brown, not even a one-way trip into the barrier. GTV got a close-up of the tarmac in the US. It didn't stop her from taking her 3rd podium in a row, but it did see her relinquish the championship lead. It's a race in 2 for the overall honours because Taylor Spivey is on fire. A wonderful victory at home, putting the Californian on top by a point and giving her all sorts of confidence for the final 2 rounds. London winner Cassandra Beaugrand is back to take on the Top Guns. German superstar Laura Lindemann returns to back up her top 5 in Munich, while Miriam Garcia's breakthrough 2nd has given her 3rd overall for now, but not by much, with 4 women within 4 points, including the returning Sophie Caldwell coming off 2 top 5s, and series surprise packer Jean Leher, who will have the home crowd advantage here in Toulouse.
A perfect day in the south of France and a big crowd building here to watch round 4 of Super League Triathlon. The triple mix, it's about 24 degrees, a little bit of cloud cover, the water temp 18 degrees, and we're about to see our athletes take to the pontoon, starting with the Eagles, who are at the bottom of the standings, and Tim Don, the manager, will not be too happy about that at all. As I welcome into commentary 2018 world champion Vicky Holland and the current European champion Non Stanford, who should be out there in the Eagles colours, but unfortunately has picked up an injury. Non, it must be sad to see your athletes out there without you.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, but I think Summer is going to do a great job in standing in for me, and I'm excited to see how they go today.
Taylor Spivey right there, number 50, who is in the championship hunt. She's actually leading by 1 point ahead of Georgia Taylor-Brown by virtue of that great win in Malibu, and her team alongside her, Nat Van Koveren, Hannah de Vet, Laura Lindemann, who comes back in after being there in Munich, and John Lahair, who's on the right. And there is the Rhino horn. Lahair's really been one of the surprise packets of this series so far, and she's racing at home. And there is GTB and Vix. It's always hard to go past the dual Olympic medalist. But then, of course, she's got Cassandra Beaugrand, and big cheers from the crowd as she comes out.
Yeah, these two athletes are an absolute powerhouse put together, not just in their overall results, but they're so good at picking up swim, bike and run points, which are invaluable for the overall team scores.
The Scorpions dropped down the standings in the last round, but the Cheetahs rocketed up. Rachel Klammer, who hasn't been super well this week. There's been a few viruses and sicknesses going through the camp. Verena Steinhauser, Miriam Casillas, and Sophie Caldwell, who comes back in after missing out in Malibu. So she doesn't take any of the team cash, if you like, having missed one of the rounds, but she's going to figure strongly in this one, Vix, you would think.
Yeah, I think Sophie might actually benefit a little bit from just having had that week off in Malibu, and I do think this course might suit her.
Kate Woff forgets where she's going, but has a smile and heads out. Beth Potter, who holds a lead in the run jersey at the moment, but she's been running from the back of the field, hasn't had the swims that she would have liked. She was a bit cold in Munich. I'm not sure if this course is going to suit her either. It's very tight and curvy, but the Sharks are leading the team standings at the moment. And Non, what are you thinking? I mean, obviously, in this exact moment, what are you usually thinking about to head out onto a Super League pontoon?
I think it's trying to stay calm, because you know the next few minutes are going to be absolute carnage when you dive in that water. That first buoy is so close. You just have to be ready for the carnage when you hit it. So I think they're all a bit nervous right now.
A really delicately poised championship series with 1 point between Taylor Spivey of the Rhinos and Georgia Taylor-Brown of the Scorpions. There you can see the pontoon positions which were selected in a pontoon draw with the managers. There's clear space behind those two in terms of the championship, but then you put in someone like a Cassandra Beaugrand, who, as we said, missed a round, so she's dropped out of the championship standings, but she won our last triple mix. The triple mix tends to I guess, favour the good swimmers, and there's a bit of a current out there too, Vix.
Yeah, no, the triple mix does seem to really help with the swimmers when they get to go at the end of the round. So in stage 2, they will end with the swim, and that will be really, really crucial for someone like a Cassandra Beaugrand.
There is Beaugrand alongside Taylor-Brown. Beaugrand probably the class swimmer in the field, along with Jeff Coate doing battle for the swim jersey. Taylor-Brown looking to get on the feet, and off we go into the water. The first ever river swim and the first ever French Super League triathlon. And it was a clean start as the sun starts to shine here in Toulouse, and a fast start as well as they head out to battle with this current. There is the championship series as it stands. Big gaps between Spivey and Taylor-Brown, back to Miriam Casillas, who's been excellent on debut, as has Verena Steinhauser, and look for Sophie Caldwell to figure big in this one with her bike power. A pretty even start, and Beaugrand in the middle there.
Yeah, you can see Beaugrand sort of centre, but over just to the right of screen in that red suit, and I believe that's Sophie Caldwell in the orange that you can see a little bit further over to the left of screen in that cheetah suit. So those two have come out really at the front of every first swim that we have seen so far in Super League, and the other one we're expecting to see really high up, and I think that is her there right on the far right of screen, is Sian Rainsley of the Eagles, another of our top swimmers who's put herself right at the top of the swim leaderboard. I think she's had a second or third at the moment overall, and she's just coming right up on the side there of Cassandra Beaugrand, so another great swim looking like there for Sian Rainsley.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to overtake Beaugrand to the first buoy, and she's had some bad luck, I'd say, I guess you'd call it, Sian Rainsley, and Tim Don has been her manager and someone who's been guiding her along, and he's also been in this water, so we're going to head down to Annie Emerson and hear what Tim Don has to say.
Well, Tim, you've swam this course a couple of times now, so you probably know it better than some of the athletes. Talk us through the current that Will alluded to.
Yeah, it's interesting. The current comes from left to right. It's a lot stronger for the first 50, 60 metres, the way the river bends round. But when they turn left at that first buoy, it's going to be a slight head current, so the weaker swimmers are going to get an advantage by tucking in. So the athletes needed to start fast, and then on the way back, it's all about swimming in as straight as line as possible.
Thank you, Tim.
So it's a straight shootout in terms of the swim jersey between Emma Jeffcoat and Cassandra Beaugrand, the two Scorpions, and they're both in the top 4 and joined by Georgia Taylor-Brown. So 3 Scorpions all surrounding the eagle of Sian Rainsley at the front. And the swim points in terms of the leaderboard goes to whoever crosses the line in transition first. So there should be a bit of a sprint back up into transition, especially between Beaugrand and Jeffcoat, who's been picking up those discipline points constantly, but fairly strung out already between the front and the back after about 200 metres, and the pace really on.
I think you can really see the difference it makes where you stand on the pontoon today. Both the Scorpions and Eagles, who started to the left, are all in the front. So all you can see in the front there are Eagles and Scorpion tri-suits. So the current is playing a massive part, and I think that's going to unfold as the racing continues. Yeah,
really good tactical choice by both team managers there to put their team on that side of the pontoon. As we can see, Sian Rainsley just stretching just a tiny bit ahead of Cassandra Beaugrand. I know she's had a little bit of bad luck through this series, but is really keen to pick up as many points as she can and possibly even get herself a short shoot for that Team Eagles.
Up onto the pontoon they go, and it's a nice, big, healthy crowd who've been turning out all week. The athletes have been doing school visits, been doing plenty in the community as well, and the people of Toulouse have been absolutely loving it. Beautiful city of around 500,000, and plenty of them have come out to see the stars of triathlon as Beaugrand and Rainsley head up first, Jeffcoat and Taylor-Brown behind them. And Sophia Green with a very good swim too. Nat Van Koven and Summer Rappaport, Lindemann and Sophie Caldwell 7 seconds back from Jean Lehair, and your championship leader Taylor Spivey 9 seconds in arrears already. Now every second counts, obviously.
Looks like it's going to be Rainsley to take this one. She came out very cleanly there. If we can get a sighting on the short shoot. I think she's already gone through. I think we might have missed her. Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah,
Eagles
on the board.
Is up. There we go. Short shoot for Team Eagles.
That's very good news. Really solid transition there from Sian Rainsley, and she's managed to get a little gap on the field too. Beaugrand having trouble getting into her shoes. Now, as soon as you come out of transition and take a right-hand turn, it's uphill. The gear that you have and the cleanness out of transition is crucial. Anyone who's done an uphill transition knows how easy it can go wrong, as Jeffcoat immediately comes up onto the back of Rainsley. But Eagles get the short shoot in the back pocket. That is going to be very helpful, and they're going to be able to take it twice in this one, not just once. It'll be one athlete chosen by Tim Don, the team manager, who'll be able to take the short shoot twice on both laps of the run, and that'll be in stage 3. Plenty to play out between now and then, though, as they hit the back straight.
Just looking at some of those swim times tick through, and we can see someone who's had a really poor first swim is Beth Potter. 16th out the water and 13 seconds down. That's almost exactly what happened in the London round of Super League this year. And unfortunately, that really did scupper her race. She was pretty solid from that point on, but just wasn't able to make that deficit back up. And I think once again, as Non said, the swim start positions have really played into this. The Sharks did not have a particularly good start position, and with the current, that seems to have played a really big part in this.
Yeah, definitely, but just looking at the screen now, I think that's Beth who's just got herself back onto the back of the group. If so, she's had a brilliant transition and got herself back in the race, but this is a very technical course, and being at the front of the pack is going to be crucial throughout.
Four laps on the bike. It's about 1 kilometre of each as they head back down the hill and alongside the river and back into transition in just a second. And heading around the outside, I think, is Taylor-Brown off the front.
Yeah, Georgia Taylor-Brown leading it through. Didn't take her very long to find her way back to the very front of the pack, and she'll no doubt be trying to string this pack out now, do a little bit of damage through these corners and maybe whittle down that pack. But off the back of that result just 2 weeks ago in Malibu, where she did slide out, going a little bit too gung-ho around one of those corners, I wonder if she'll be feeling the need to be a little bit more cautious today.
There seems to be a bit of a divide already, so Taylor-Brown and I think Lahair have broken off the front there. Lahair is having an absolutely phenomenal series, and I think she's going to be really buoyed by the home crowd here.
I think she's running on confidence, isn't she? That result that she put down in Munich with 4th place, backed up again in Malibu with another top 5 performance, and then to be coming here, so that you can see the confidence to be able to go with Georgia Taylor-Brown at this point. That's no mean feat, is it?
Absolutely not, and it's great to see. It's obviously her...
Oh dear, Rachel Klammer down, and she's holding the wrist too. She looks to be in significant distress. We'll see if we can get a replay on that, but that already does not look good on the wrist, as out the front, Taylor-Brown and Jean Lahair continue to put time into the rest of the field. But Rachel Klammer, the veteran Dutch athlete and one of the Cheetahs team, she's been around since the very beginning of Super League. Finished second to Katie Zafiris a couple of years ago. She's come afoul of this difficult technical course as Lahair takes a turn on the front.
Do you think there's been a Scorpions tactic here to allow Georgia Taylor-Brown to get a little bit of a gap? Because it looked like they were sort of sitting on the front of that main chase pack, potentially just allowing that gap to go out. And I can't work out whether that was a tactical manoeuvre or if Georgia was just too good.
Well, it could definitely be either of the scenarios. Georgia is obviously very strong, but I do think the Scorpions have some big team tactics at play.
Again, just looking at the timing splits that have come through, and Taylor Spivey, one of our race favourites and our current leader, is in 17th place at 18 seconds down. Now, I do wonder if something happened with that crash that we saw Rachel Klammer get caught up in, whether Taylor Spivey was also caught up just behind that, because I'm quite shocked to see that deficit back to Taylor Spivey at this early stage.
Yeah, that's definitely very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, and the last triple mix, Taylor Spivey, as we said, it usually, you know, over the course of the 3 stages, helps the swimmers. She's obviously one of our stronger swimmers, so we'll have to find out exactly what's happened to Spivey there. But at the moment, everything is going the way of Georgia Taylor-Brown. Every second lost in this stage is going to be paid for in stage 3. So in the pursuit start, Taylor Spivey will know she cannot allow Georgia Taylor-Brown to have free reign of this. She'll never win it back. And at the moment, it's looking to be exactly that situation.
And the Cheetahs are out in force in that little chase pack behind, because that group is now down to just, I think, 5 athletes, which I think tells you that when Klammer's crash must have happened, it's decimated that group, which was about 15, 16 athletes. Now there's only 5 of those athletes chasing down Georgia Taylor-Brown and Jean Lahair.
Casillas 2.5 back, Caldwell, Jeffcoat, Steinhauser, Van Coverdon. We're not seeing Beaugrand on our timing sheets at the moment, but the big moment was Rachel Klammer. Let's head down to their assistant manager at the Cheetahs, Michael Buchek.
Well, we knew this was going to be tough, Buchek. We knew it was going to be a really, really tough course, but we've already lost Rachel Klammer from Cheetahs. Did you see the crash?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really sad for us, for the Cheetahs. Rachel was just going down, like, the one very technical section. She fall down, looks like she hold her wrist, so hopefully she doesn't have anything broken. But yeah, so she's sadly she's out of the race. But luckily, like, the rest of the girls, Miriam, Verena, and Sophie, they are right in the front. So yeah, too bad for Rachel.
Fingers crossed for the rest of them. Thanks, Buchek.
Cassandra Beaugrand dropping down the timing sheets as well, so we'll try and find out exactly what happened there, but hopefully no one else too caught up in it. 15 seconds back to Beaugrand, who was our triple mix winner. We were discussing before the show what would happen if Cassandra Beaugrand and Georgia Taylor-Brown were 1 and 2, with Beaugrand knowing that she's not in the championship standings. Would she let Georgia Taylor-Brown head through a la team orders like in Formula 1? Maybe that's not going to turn out that way. Non, would you let someone through? Probably not.
Yeah, well, that's a very tough question, but I know the Scorpions do try to work very well as a team, so it's a possibility. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of prize money on the line. So do you let, you know, your teammate have that extra few grand? I don't know.
That's a good question as we find out who's going to get the second short shoot here. It's going to be out of Lahair and Taylor Brown by the looks of it, and a good transition by Jean Lahair. She looks back and she knows that she's 1-1 for the Rhinos.
That was incredibly smart.
So Taylor Brown comes second.
Yeah, that was incredibly smart from Jean Lahair there. On the last lap and a half or so of that bike, it looked like she was getting distanced by Georgia Taylor Brown, who was just starting to take out a few metres on her. But she came through just in the last few hundred metres before transition, did a very, very smooth T2, and has now earned herself, or someone else in the Rhinos, depends who is awarded that short shoot, a shortcut on the final run.
And she immediately gives up the front position in this race to Taylor Brown, who has an absolutely masterful run. We know that. It's just 1 lap on the run in stage 1, 1 lap in stage 2, 2 laps in the pursuit start stage as the crowd builds here in Toulouse, a triathlon mad city, in fact a triathlon mad nation, and they're watching the Scorpion, the Olympic silver and gold medalist Georgia Taylor Brown, take this one by the scruff of the neck. She finally broke her duck after 11 straight top 5s in Super League with a win in Munich. She ended up having a big crash in Malibu, fought her way back to 3rd, and now she's in charge of this one as Lahair wipes away the brow, and Sophie Caldwell has moved up into 3rd position for the Cheetahs ahead of Verena Steinhauser.
Yeah, Natalie Van Covoorden just behind her in 5th place. All those girls were in that main chase back. I saw in the back a shot there, Beth Potter, that purple suit of the Sharks, looking like she was really trying to make back some of that time. I can only think that she was another of those athletes that was caught behind the crash of Rachel Klammer. We haven't seen Taylor Spivey come through on screen yet. I know she did make it to transition. We've not seen her come through. And again, another athlete who must have been caught up in that crash that happened so early on the bike.
The question now with Cassandra Beaugrand is she thinks she's far enough back to go directly for the run points in this one, as she did in Munich. She obviously hasn't enjoyed this tough technical bike course. It's been a little bit like Munich for her in that respect. Does she try and put in the fastest lap and pick up the fastest lap points for the Scorpions team as she did before, or can anyone catch the pace of Georgia Taylor Brown, who's running away from Lahair and the rest of the pack?
I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see Beaugrand with the fastest lap. She's undoubtedly the fastest 1500-metre runner in the pack, and it's only 1K today, so I think that's guaranteed.
Yeah, Georgia does seem to be putting a big distance now in on Jean Lahair and even on Sophie Caldwell, who's currently running in 3rd place. And to be honest, we weren't sure what we were going to see from Georgia today. We know she's not been especially well this week. I spoke to her yesterday. She's still coughing quite a lot. She's had a pretty heavy head cold. So I know she was not entirely sure what form she'd find herself in today. But if there's anything to go by what we're seeing so far, I think it's pretty good, Georgia, pretty good.
Gets the seal of approval by winning stage 1 from 10 seconds or more. Georgia Taylor Brown, who just sprints all the way to the line, knowing that every second counts in Super League. She has won stage 1, and she immediately goes to get ready for stage 2, such as the professional that she is. Jean Lahair comes over the line second, and big gaps now back to Sophie Caldwell, Verena Steinhauser. Laura Lindemann has run through this field. Beaugrand has run away back with Potter. Summer Rappaport, Nat Van Covoorden finishes, and there is Taylor Spivey, 21 seconds in arrears. Sean Rainsley, Miriam Casillas is back too with Kate Woff. So big numbers handed over to Taylor Brown from 2nd and 3rd place in the championship series in Spivey and Casillas. Still people coming across the line 40 or more seconds back. A tough time for Nicole van der Kay, who finishes 47 seconds back. She's in our top 10 as well, as we head down now to Annie Emerson.
Georgia, a great first stage for you, but a tough one for some of the other athletes.
Yeah, it was hard, and I know it was the first stage, but I wanted to try and get as much time as possible for the pursuit on the final stage.
Talk us through that bike course, because that has proved a big problem for Rachel Klammer.
Yeah, I hope everyone stayed safe. It's just quite tight, and it was nice to have my own space.
Okay, and looking forward to the rest of the race. I presume you put yourself in a really good position.
Not quite looking forward to it. It's going to be hard, but no, it'll be fun.
Okay, good luck, Georgia. Thank you.
When is there ever a time where Georgia Taylor Brown doesn't say things are hard? She was, oh, it was so hard. I won by 10 seconds, but gee, it was so hard. It says it every time.
Never really looks under distress though, does she? You know,
No.
she says how hard it is, how hard she had to dig, and then when she's actually racing, you look at her face and you can't tell.
I know she absolutely has that sort of T1000 Terminator run, no expression on her face whatsoever, keeps it under control. That's what makes her such an excellent Super League athlete. It was Sian Rainsley who took the short shoot early on. She would end up having a more difficult bike. Jean Lahair had a fantastic bike and stayed with Georgia Taylor Brown, and in fact led in and out of transition, picked up the Rhinos a short shoot as well, and then Taylor Brown over that kilometre really asserted her dominance and finished a good 10 seconds up on the field, looked around, realised she had the gap, and the Scorpions pick up the third short shoot. So 3 teams, 3 short shoots, and we head into stage 2 now, and this time we start on the bike, on the run, sorry. Run, bike, swim for the triple mix, and our front place from stage 1, the top 5, they start on the front row. And we end in the swim, and that swim is where we see things really move in the triple mix.
See some of the athletes starting with their swim caps on there, so it minimises the time it's going to take them in that transition zone, and some choosing not to.
Interestingly, with the swim hats, I think 3 of the 4 girls are all from the same squad, so I wonder if it's a tactic that's come from their coach.
Yeah, it's definitely something that there's a bit of skill to getting your cycle helmet on over the top of a rubbery swim hat, and having tried it myself, I actually found it slowed me down, so I wouldn't have done that. But watching them do it in London, as they did a few weeks ago, they all seem to manage it absolutely fine, so maybe I just wasn't good enough at it.
I'm definitely not the person to come to about helmets.
So at the front, it is Taylor Brown, Bogran and Potter, and Taylor Spivey, who does have the swim cap on and was excellent in the transitions in London during the triple mix. She was forced to start at the back of the field, which means she has to run through everybody, which just makes things that little bit harder, especially on a course as narrow as this. And watching Cassandra Bogran at home as Sarah Rolls had to pull out, she might have had an issue there. We'll find out from Tim Don. Certainly wasn't eliminated for any reason, unless she came very late at the back and got done on the 90-second rule. I don't think I saw her across the line on the timing sheets, as at the back is now Hannah DeVette and Emma Jeffcoat.
Well, Cassandra Beaugrand here is doing what Cassandra Beaugrand does, right? She is brought into this team as a wild card. She hasn't raced every race, and the triple mix especially, she is very good at going for those run points, and she's leading out this run now. So no matter where she ends up finishing in the day, you kind of expect the fastest run of the day to come from this leg, where they start with the run. And Cassandra Beaugrand laying it down to everyone else right now. Beth Potter struggling to minimise that gap, and you've got to think that Cassandra Beaugrand is going to take back maximum run points to the Scorpions once again.
Spivey has overtaken half the field. You can see her at back of your shot with the black cap on as she tries to stay in touch with our leaders, but probably the 2 best runners in triathlon, at least over anywhere up to the Olympic distance, are at the front of this field, and Jean Lahair continues to figure in 3rd position ahead of Taylor Brown and Sophie Caldwell. We'll head down now to Annie Emerson with Scorpions assistant coach Michael Gilliam.
Respond to that. They've come out in their numbers today, and she's going to have to perform today up to her best. Tough course for her on the bike. I don't know if that's going to turn out too well at the end of the day, but at the moment she's in front on this part of the course.
All right, a quick comment there from the assistant manager with Chris McCormack absent today. Michael Gilliam takes over. Always an interesting prospect as Lahair now overtakes Potter, which is something I didn't think I would be saying. Beth Potter being such an excellent runner, and Jean Lahair has taken 2nd place from her as they head out onto the bike.
I think it just goes to show again, we talked about it already today, the confidence that Jean Lahair's got right now as someone who's grown up in France as well. Great crowds for her, great support, and she's racing like an athlete who's really just come on leaps and bounds even in just the last few weeks.
She's lost that position to Potter in transition, but you're absolutely right. Jean Lahair has enjoyed her debut season here, and a bit of an incident there from Beaugrand, who's had trouble in that exact spot before, and she's dropped right out of that lead pack.
You can't afford to do that at this point, but the one thing that goes for her is that Georgia Taylor-Brown is still behind her. That said, you've got Sophie Coldwell on the front of this pack now with Verena Steinhauser, both incredibly strong cyclists, and you don't want to let these girls get away either.
Yeah, the cheaters have been excellent in the last two. They've won the last two lots of team points, both in Munich and Malibu, and now they see an opportunity to take back that time they lost in stage one to Georgia Taylor-Brown and Jean Leher.
I think it's really interesting to see who the good tacticians are here. I think Jeanne is just a very smart racer. She's sprinting when she needs to sprint. She's getting through transition fast when she needs to do that. And it's paying off for her and it's paying off for the team. And I think that's what I'm really most impressed with Jeanne.
Yeah, certainly been a great addition. As we can see the preliminary results from stage one, Cassandra Beaugrand with the fastest swim, Jean Leher with the fastest bike, and Beaugrand with the fastest run at a time of 2:53 for the 1K. She will beat that in the second run because it's come off a rest. So the fastest times can come from stage one or stage two as they warm into this contest. There is the short shoot we'll be seeing taken under the bridge in stage three by someone from the Eagles, the Rhinos and the Scorpions. Yet to be nominated, but we'll bring you that news. It'll be at the end of this bike. They'll have the managers to nominate the athlete from their team, but on the front is a couple of cheaters and enjoying life here in the sun in Toulouse. A beautiful place in every respect, but especially for triathlon alongside the River Garonne here that runs all the way from the Spanish Pyrenees to Bordeaux, and a section of it running right through the middle of this wonderful city here in the south of France. As up the ramp they go again.
I noticed there that Beaugrand was the final member of that group. There are 10 athletes that have broken away here. She was the last one as they went through that slightly technical, cobbly section of transition, and looked like she wasn't having the most fun going through that section. She has popped herself right onto the back again here, but this is where she's vulnerable, and this is where she has to be really careful to stay in the race.
I don't know if that's the cheaters' tactics, but they're really making it hard for the Scorpions right now, of all people. You know, Georgia had to work really hard to get herself back into that pack. You've got Cassandra dangling off the back, so I think the cheaters are working well together here to make life difficult.
Yeah, three Scorpions right at the back of the pack here, with a few Rhinos in the middle as well, so they're really making it hard for all those Scorpions at the back of the pack. And this course is so tight, so technical, so narrow, there isn't really much time to pass, so someone like Georgia Taylor-Brown might want to go up the front. She can't.
All right, we're going to head down now to Annie Emerson with Michael Buchek.
Well, Michael, Team Cheetahs are really racing as a team. Great to see.
Yeah, I mean, like, we told them, the girls, like, try to stay in the front. I mean, it's not easy, but if you're in the front, like, you're more out of the trouble. So, great work for the girls. The one is pulling the one loop, another one is another loop. So, great work for the Cheetahs. Yeah.
The teams race obviously heating up at this point because there's $320,000 US on offer for the teams. 120,000 goes to the leading team on points at the end of the 5 rounds, which means every athlete in that team picks up 15 grand, which is not too shabby whatsoever. And that's why these teams are working together. Of course, every athlete, due to the team's concept, that takes part in Super League, all 5 rounds, gets paid as well. It goes down to 20 grand for the 5th place team. And that is important cash for these athletes if they're not figuring in the general classification. Working together to make sure they get those points from the swim, bike and run, and also the overalls. We head down now to the Sharks manager, Michelle Dillon, with Annie.
Well, Michelle, Team Sharks are on top of the table at the moment. What are your thoughts of the race so far for your girls?
They had a little bit of a rocky start, I thought, at the beginning, but they seem to be warming into it now, which is really good. The only problem is, like, Beth's having a stormer of a second race, but now she just got a 5-second penalty.
They are in the lead, I'm just hearing, but with a 5-second penalty, that's tough. Good luck for the rest of the race, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you so much. See how it goes.
Michelle Dillon in the Boa Ignite transition area as under the bridge they go once again, with Beaugrand on the back of this group of multicoloured athletes, and really starting to see some big gaps back to the back markers now.
Yeah, they started to eke out another gap ahead of that group behind, and in that group behind was Miriam Casillas Garcia. She is 3rd currently in our overall rankings, so she will want to be bringing that gap down a little bit. You can't afford to lose 10, 12 seconds in each round as she has done so far today.
This second race is very different to the first one. You know, you've got Beth Potter right up there, Taylor Spivey's back in the mix, and Beth even driving this bike pack right now, which is quite surprising to see after what happened on the first leg.
I wonder if she's also trying to keep herself out of trouble, knowing that she probably was stuck behind that crash that happened with Rachel Klammer. The safest place to be in a bike pack is actually at the front. No one could go down in front of you at that point. So I think it's quite a smart move from Beth to just keep herself out of trouble, keep near the front of this bike pack.
There's some athletes on the bubble of elimination at the moment, especially Hannah de Vet, who came around the last time 85 seconds back from the leaders. And just ahead of her, Nicole van der Keys having a tough day. Jules Behrens, the 2021 World Junior Champion, is back there as well. Sophia Green also. So finding the going particularly difficult, and when you add their time in arrears from stage 1, we might have some athletes not starting stage 3 as Potter gets out of the shoes first and gets ready as they head around this double apex right-hander back onto the flat along under the tunnel, and they're going to head into transition now, and we're going to see a swim sprint to the finish and then a 5-minute gap before we go again.
Well, this is where Cassandra Beaugrand has to use her swim prowess. She is off the back of this group now. We've lost 2 athletes from what was 10. We're down to 8 at the front. Cassandra Beaugrand not too far off the back, and with the way she swims, she could put herself back in the mix here.
Definitely, but it's also worth noting, I think sometimes the stronger swimmers when it comes to second and third swim don't actually swim as well as you expect. It's sometimes just the more robust and fitter athletes. So I'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Brilliant transition again there. As I say, that Taylor Spivey made a small error, but it didn't cost her in the end. And another fantastic transition. Taylor Spivey was so good at the transitions in the triple mix in London. We think that's really what got her ahead of Georgia Taylor-Brown on the day. But she's gone into the water first. That was a fantastic bit of transitioning there from Taylor Spivey.
She's not as far ahead of Georgia Taylor-Brown as she would like to be, but Spivey just trying to control her own race after a difficult opening stage that left her 21.1 seconds back on Taylor-Brown. At the moment, she's only 1.3 seconds up, so she's going to have a lot to make up in stage 3 if it stays the way it does. And I think, is that Taylor-Brown on her feet?
I think that's a cheetah. I think that's 2 cheetahs behind, and then in 4th place at the moment. Yeah, in 4th place at the moment, that is Georgia Taylor-Brown. So there is a little bit of a gap developing from these front 3 athletes back to that 4th place of Georgia, and Georgia has to really make sure that gap doesn't go now. Otherwise, all that work she put in on round 1, stage 1, that will be annihilated.
On the far right of the group on our screens, you can see Beth Potter. She looks like she's struggling a little bit, maybe going backwards. I think maybe the fatigue is really setting in. She did a lot of work on that bike.
Yeah, she was right next to Georgia going into the water and has now unfortunately gone a bit further backwards as we watch Hannah de Vet here
there's Tomo.
Try and make it. Didn't quite get there, did she?
Well, Michael Thompson, the race director, was just really looking forward to waving that elimination flag as Hannah de Vet was trying her best to get in back on the 90 seconds. I don't think that has happened. Well, she might have just made it in. She knows that she's not going to make it at the end of this swim, though, so she's not going too quickly. So she must have made it under the 90 seconds just
snuck under there. Maybe Tomo got a bit excited with his flag and then had to put it away after all.
Reminds me of Michael Arashita in Malta, who needed to make it into the 90 seconds and so jumped in the water with his shoes on.
Yeah, that was a novel Super League moment, wasn't it? We'd never seen that before, and that was definitely something that we played quite a lot at Super League.
What a time to be alive it was. Malta in 2018 in pre-COVID times. We're back with our biggest championship season ever. We finish in Neom in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks, I think. As you can see, the athletes at the back still heading out to the first marker. They're going to find things very difficult. From now on, as Spivey takes control of this race ahead of 2 cheaters in Verena Steinhauser and Sophie Caldwell, who's having a good swim as well. But Spivey will take some confidence from this after a difficult opening stage. She's going to have a lot of work to do in the final stage, but it's not out of the question.
No, she's doing everything she can. She obviously had a bit of bad luck in stage 1. Wouldn't have been the result she was hoping for at that point. But where she is in this race right now, putting a gap in on absolutely everyone else in the field, she couldn't do more than that. She's going to take back a bit of time that Georgia Taylor-Brown's got on her. She won't be drawing even by the end of this stage, but she's putting herself in with a shout.
Every second counts now, and going into the pursuit start, I think that's what Taylor's really thinking about, and you know, she's doing the best job she can.
And we're just seeing on screen there, she has been awarded a short shoot, which will be vital in that final round. So that short shoot that was won by Jean Lahair for Team Rhinos has been awarded to Taylor Spivey.
The question now, does Michael Gilliam award his to Georgia Taylor-Brown, given that she's the one in the overall? Of course, more team points might come from handing it to another athlete further down. We've seen that multiple times. But out of the water goes Spivey. She'll see that she's been handed a short shoot when she finishes this stage, which will be another boost for her. Straight up the black ramp, out onto the black carpet in the Boa Ignite transition area goes Taylor Spivey.
Sophie Colwell got on her heels, and Georgia Taylor-Brown's moved up to 3rd place there.
Might pick up 5 seconds on Taylor-Brown. Spivey, everything will be crucial in the pursuit start. So Coldwell comes over maybe 4 seconds back, 4.5, 5.5 or 6.5 to Taylor-Brown. Steinhauser is there also. A big group comes over, including Lindemann and Jean Lahair. And now it's about sucking in the deep breaths, doing a little bit of addition in your head to try and work out exactly how far back you have to start and what order you have to start in. But getting everything correct. And I mean, Non, I'll ask you this question. When you get to this point and your heart rate's so high, not that you got to this point actually because your helmet buckle broke back in London, I just want to bring that up again. But when you do, and having to think of all the little 1%ers that you have to think about in this gap, while also trying to calm yourself down and think about what you're going to do in the next 15 minutes, must be very difficult.
It is very difficult. Your heart rate's really high, your brain's in overdrive. You're trying to think about what you need to do next, what you need to do with your transition, what actually the order is coming up. That's often half the battle, is remembering what you've got to do first. And I did get to this point, it's just when I got to my bike on the 3rd one, I couldn't do my helmet up. So yeah, it's pretty tough.
Right, well, I'll get back in my box then, shall I? I can tell you, though, that Summer Rappaport has picked up the short shoot for the Eagles, so crucial points there. Maybe coming. Cassandra Beaugrand's the one who picks up the short shoot. So Georgia Taylor-Brown does not have the short shoot for the Scorpions. Here is the story of the stage. A great run it was from Beaugrand, a great run from Lahair as well. But Beaugrand's run ended when she had a little bit of an issue here, jumping on a bike. Didn't quite get the shoes correct. Happens to the best of us, apparently.
It's flipped upside down. I think that was her problem there. It wasn't quite in the right place.
And Spivey with a great swim and a good finish in stage 2.
Well, Taylor, a tough start for you, but a great second stage.
Yeah, I needed some redemption after the first stage. I tried to run around people leading into the bike, and my rubber band snapped and I couldn't mount my bike, so I've just been playing catch up this whole race.
How does this course compare to any other course that you've seen so far in Super League?
The bike's a lot harder with the hill and the technical bit, which I really like. I wish I could have showcased it on the first lap, but I'm doing my best to catch up, so we'll see how it goes on this last round.
Technically, you'd have to say it really suits you because you have ridden this course very well and you've avoided any sort of disaster.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry. The music's too loud. Sorry.
Sound problems there. I think it's a swimming hat that's causing a problem. Oh, assistant manager of the Rhinos. What are your thoughts so far on your team's performance? Taylor has been magnificent.
I could not be more happy with how the women are performing. They're staying really tight together. They're closing gaps. Taylor had a bid deficit. She had to bring it all back. So we gave her the short shoot to make sure that all that hard work is going to pay off for her. It's a really tough choice. You never know how it's going to play out, pulling the card this early. But ultimately, really incredible racing by all the ladies today.
What are your thoughts on this course here?
I'm sorry?
What are your thoughts on this course?
This course, I wish I was racing this course. It's magnificent. It's exciting. We've already seen a little drama saw somebody went down, unfortunately, but you cannot for a second take a break. It is full on.
Okay, who are you going to call for the victory here in Toulouse?
Who's what?
For the victory.
Oh, it's gonna. I don't even want to say names for victory, but I'm gonna obviously say Taylor Spivey. I want her to win for sure.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, James.
Good job.
Obviously a dance party going on down there in transition, in the Boa Ignite transition area. And Annie Emerson finding it hard to hear as we see the beautiful River Garonne in Toulouse, which runs through this wonderful city. And there was so much nice calm this morning, but there was so many people down there enjoying this time around. And they're about to see the pointy end of the triple mix as all the athletes look at where the splits start and finish.
There we go. So
and
just
there's
Georgia
confirmation on your screen.
Yes, Georgia. Unsurprisingly, we did think she was going to be off first, but Taylor Spivey, the massive mover in that round, going up to third place. That was huge from Taylor Spivey.
Yeah, it took 7 seconds out of Georgia Taylor Brown's lead, and we can see there Emma Jeffcoat will not start. Jules Behrens won't start. Hannah DeVette won't start because they're all further than the 90-second rule. But at the front, it will be Georgia Taylor Brown, which means she has plenty of clear space ahead of her and can stay out of trouble. A confirmation of the short shoot allocation, so Summer Rappaport and Taylor Spivey will pick one up, and Michael Gilliam has decided to go with Cassandra Beaugrand for the Scorpions, which is a little controversial.
He's obviously very confident in Georgia's ability today. He doesn't think she needs it and maybe feels they can pick up more points further down.
Well, she's probably right as Georgia Taylor Brown heads out for the last stage of the triple mix. Of course, it is bike, swim, and we run home with 2 short shoots on offer for those 3 athletes as Coldwell waits and sees her compatriot Taylor Brown take off into the distance for the first of 4 bike laps.
It's almost
there's going to be a big group.
It's almost a carbon copy, isn't it, of what we saw in Munich with Georgia Taylor Brown off the front with the 2 chasers being Sophie Coldwell and Taylor Spivey. Now, those 2 are such strong cyclists, they could potentially work together to take some of that deficit back out of Georgia Taylor Brown.
Oh, the pursuit start is so heartbreaking, isn't it, when you can see the athlete disappearing off into the distance and Kate Wolf standing there going, when, Michael, when can I go? And the time ticks over oh so slowly. I'm saying that because I imagine, I've never been in one, but I imagine it's going to be exactly like that.
Don?
I can assure you each second feels like an eternity, and you question whether you're like, Tom, are you sure? There's no point arguing at that point, though.
The beautiful Phoenix helmet of Georgia Taylor Brown out there by herself at the moment. And already halfway around this course.
I can't see Georgia being caught, to be honest with you. She was so strong on the bike in the first round, and she thrives off being at the front, being on her own, not having anybody around her. So I wonder if she can even put time into the 2 that are quite close to behind her, Sophie and Taylor.
Probably just being even just a percentage off in terms of the excitement level around the corners that maybe she was in Malibu. Probably taking heed of what happened to her there. She doesn't need to. She's at the front of the race. She can be calm.
We're hearing that Taylor Spivey came off her bike coming around. Not a bad off, just coming out of transition, didn't quite get it right, a la Cassandra Beaugrand turning up the hill, and that might have put paid to her chances. And well, Georgia Taylor Brown doesn't know that, but if she continues in the way she's going to, as we see there, she's come off the bike, managed to save it, so just as it came onto the cobblestones there, didn't quite get it, so lost crucial seconds.
But as you can see on that
potentially the championship lead.
Yeah, you can see on that timing split there that Sophie Coldwell is now clearly in second place on her own at 12 seconds. Another 7.5 seconds back to Taylor Spivey, who's now been joined by Verena Steinhauser. So that's another incident in the day that's just gone against Taylor Spivey. And sometimes when it's not your day, and everything kind of happens to you.
I think sometimes you're a little bit stressed, so when one thing goes wrong, you tend to lose your concentration, and just small errors start happening because she's under pressure. She knows she needs to push, she knows she needs to chase, and just those little errors creep in, and like you say, every second counts at this point, and 19 seconds, or 20 seconds really, to Georgia Taylor-Brown over a short distance is huge.
And Georgia will be even more pleased to see that Sophie Caldwell is looking pretty good in second place, because that puts another person between her result and potentially Taylor Spivey's result. If it was to finish in that situation, in those positions as we see on screen right now, Georgia Taylor-Brown would retake the lead in the championship series, and she would have a buffer of 1 point ahead of Taylor Spivey going into the final in Neom.
It'd almost make it a straight shootout if indeed it finishes exactly like this. So, as we say, got to finish third now, Taylor Spivey. Cannot let anyone else past her if she wants to make sure she can win on merit in Neom, where the points are a little higher. So it's 20, 18, 16, 14, 12 for the top 5. So 2 points in between each one for Neom, as opposed to 1 point in the other races. So if she finishes third, it'll still be a straight shootout, but she'll come from 1 point behind as we head down to Michael Gilliam in the transition area.
Form on the bike, and the amazing thing is she's a bit sick, so I just can't believe what she's done today. The big question is, can Cassandra get up towards the top end of this field and make the top 3?
Well, Taylor Spivey, we saw, had a little bit of an upset there on the corner. Nick, talk us through that one.
It looked like she was able to recover quickly. She obviously has the power in the legs to make it count and bridge back up. And now I think she's riding a bit smarter, letting some of the other girls do the work, but coasting in, especially in that long downhill straight. She's really firing herself up for a great finish.
It looks like Sophie Caldwell has been caught just a few seconds. She had about 7 seconds after the last lap, and now she's only got 4 seconds to the duo of Steinhauser and Spivey. So that really does make it all to play for, with a swim and a run to come. And we know how strong Taylor Spivey's been across all 3 disciplines in every Super League event so far. We've mentioned so many times already her transitions have been immaculate. Even with a small hiccup at the end of the last stage, she still managed to enter the water first. So maybe she can still put herself into second place overall today.
I really wonder how much the double lap on the run is going to make a difference. All 3 of those athletes are actually, I'd say, pretty even on the run. Taylor maybe has the upper hand over Caldwell and Steinhauser, but they're going to be tired, and 2 laps is a long way when your leg's pretty tight, and it's 2 times up that hill, so it's going to be a real decider, I think.
Yeah, of course, this is the difference in the triple mix that we've got here today. As we see, they are together now, those 3 athletes, Caldwell, Steinhauser and Spivey, but 2 laps on the final run, whereas every other run stage you've seen them just do 1 lap. So that is the difference here today, and I think you're right, Non. I do think that could be a real factor as to who's got it when they're tired. They're right at the end of the race, and they've got to get up that hill again.
So if it finishes like this, as it stands at the moment, assuming that Spivey can finish in third position as part of that group that she is in right now, Georgia Taylor-Brown will take a 1 point lead into Neom from Spivey. Caldwell will move up a couple of places into third position if she can hold on to 4th overall, and Steinhauser will move up into 4th as well. Jean Lahaye 5th, Beth Potter, and then Miriam Garcia will drop 4 places, while Cassandra Beaugrand will gain 4. So plenty of movement in that 3rd through 8th area, while Spivey and Taylor-Brown joust it out at the front as they head downhill once again, that trio. Spivey and the 2 cheaters, whilst Georgia Taylor-Brown goes on a potential victory lap out at the front, now 21.5 seconds, and heading into transition for the second last time as the sun beats down on what would be a very hot part of the course out there.
Yeah, Georgia's almost in cruise control now. She's just done everything she needs to do early on. The way she raced in stage 1 set herself up so brilliantly for the rest of this race. She loves to be out front of the course, as Non said earlier. She doesn't have to be under any stress. She can take her time to do the little things right here, and I just can't see a way in which she's getting caught from this point on.
Interestingly, just before the race started, I was talking to Georgia, and she was worried about how she was feeling and how it was going to go, and I just said to her, conserve energy where you can, be smart, be sensible, but I don't think she took a word of that on board because she's been out front the whole time on her own, so...
Maybe she was doing that, but she's just that good. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and we see that from Spivey, and we saw that from Taylor Brown, who both transitioned very, very well. And our top two in the championship are the top two in this race, as Spivey looks to swim away from the people that could cause her some issues heading into Neom in terms of the overall championship. But of course, there's $20,000 on the line for the win here, 15,000 for second. And Spivey finishing in second or third, well, that's crucial. She finishes third or above, she'll just be 1 point behind Georgia Taylor Brown heading to the grand final. She can control her destiny then, and that's what she'll be thinking about now, is damage control. After leaking 21 seconds in the opening stage, she's 21 seconds behind, so she's been level pegging with Taylor Brown since then.
I wouldn't be surprised if Steinhauser struggles a little bit on this last swim. She's probably the weakest of those three swimmers together there. So she just really needs to try and hold on to Spivey and Caldwell's feet. But she could be out of the picture by the time they exit the swim.
Yeah, she did go into the water third with Sophie Caldwell behind her. So Sophie will have to be careful that a gap doesn't appear there, and she'll have to potentially even go round Steinhauser to pop herself onto Taylor Spivey's feet.
So two cheaters in Steinhauser and Caldwell remain in third and fourth, ahead of Jean Lehair, who might well finish in the top 5 in the championship, heading in to Neom, and Potter, who has struggled at the back end of stage 2 after a very fast start to stage 2, 36 seconds back. And Casillas at third place in the championship heading into this is 1 minute and 10 seconds in arrears in 13th place. And we've had eliminations from Sophia Green, Emma Jeffco, Jules Behrens, Hannah DeVette, Sarah Roll, and Rachel Klummer, who hurt her wrist coming off the bike. We haven't found out yet whether it's a break. We'll hopefully be able to bring you some news on that for the Dutch fans watching this at home, wherever you are.
I know we say that Georgia always looks easy, but she does look really controlled here, and I'm wondering if she's just taking the swim a little bit easier, knowing that she can just go out there onto the run and conserve a little bit of energy before she hits the run leg. And, you know, she's got an advantage, and she's probably the strongest runner of those three, so I think she might just be cruising through this one and, you know, saving herself for those last 2 laps of the run.
Yeah, I think she's very much racing her own race at this point, almost doing a time trial, isn't she? I wouldn't be surprised to see this swim time, the deficit having come down slightly from the 20 seconds it was when they went into the water, but I don't think Georgia will be too worried about that. I completely agree with you, Non. I think she'll be controlling her energy. She does have to be aware, though, that Taylor Spivey does have a short shoot, but I don't think it can be that decisive that it will be an important factor if Georgia does what Georgia does.
Looking a bit further back there as well, it does look like that Steinhauser has been gapped by both Caldwell and Spivey, and that is maybe coming back towards that group behind her. So she's definitely lost a bit of time, and that's going to be crucial when they get onto the run.
The short shoot under the bridge is a little different to our usual short shoots. It's probably only a second or maybe a bit over in terms of the advantage, which is why they're going to take it twice. So usually we have it on a dead turn, which changes things up a bit, but the short shoot here in Toulouse is another wrinkle on what is an ever-evolving concept, as out of the water comes Georgia Taylor Brown, who has looked like she always does in Super League racing. Controlled, calm, but somehow the fastest, and basically the fastest over almost any discipline as she heads out around the back of the bike racks and into the final 2-kilometre run. And Spivey is still holding off the two cheaters in Steinhauser and Caldwell. Caldwell has gapped Steinhauser here, who's coming back to the group, as we talked about, or as Non mentioned, and a nice transition and an easy one for Taylor Brown. There is Spivey and Caldwell. A good look at the gaps back to those two. And out of those two, Spivey is the one with the short shoot, but it probably won't matter if Georgia Taylor Brown runs like we know she can.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting run here. We saw in Munich that actually Sophie Caldwell outran Taylor Spivey on that final run to take second ahead of Taylor Spivey's third. So on that day, Caldwell had the measure of Spivey on the run, but Spivey's got 2 laps of a shortcut, that short shoot to take under the tunnel. What's that going to play into this final result today? Who's going to finish second and third?
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up when Taylor Spivey said after that race in Munich, I just seem to always be stuck with Sophie Caldwell in every race over every distance. We seem to shoot it out, and they're shooting it out again here at 13 and 15 seconds back. And Steinhauser lost 10 seconds on that swim and is now in danger of being run down by Summer Rappaport, who has a fantastic run. And it could be Munich all over again, with Caldwell now taking over Spivey out of transition up the hill. And this is a huge moment for Taylor Spivey. She needs to get in front of Sophie Caldwell if she is to have her destiny in her own hands and know that she just needs to beat Georgia Taylor Brown to win the championship title. If Sophie Caldwell can stay in front, then she gives Taylor Brown a buffer.
I think maybe Taylor's efforts on the second leg to bring down that deficit to Georgia is really paying here. Sophie looks very strong and is moving away from her with relative ease, but you know, it is a 2K run and you never know what's going to happen. It's very easy to go off too hard on the first lap in Super League and pay for it a bit later on, even though it's only 2K.
And we are, of course, going to see Taylor take that short shoot on both laps, so she will inevitably come back to Sophie Caldwell just a little bit on both of those short shoots that she takes. But will it be enough? At the moment, that gap seems to be going out, if anything, between Sophie Caldwell and Taylor Spivey, but still 1,500 metres of this run to go.
These points, it's not only crucial for Taylor Spivey, it's crucial for Sophie Caldwell, who leads a group of 4 athletes within 5 points, with one of them going to be picking up the 3rd spot on the podium for the overall championship. And Sophie Caldwell will be in 3rd if she can finish in this position. So that's where the real race is at the moment, as out onto the water and back onto the home straight comes Georgia Taylor Brown. And Taylor Spivey has not taken the short shoot. She has forgotten to take the short shoot.
Maybe she didn't realise she could have it both laps. That's whatever the situation that is.
That's a huge error.
It's an error, complete error there.
Well, Beaugrand knows she can take it. Rappaport knows she can take it. And they both hit the front of that pack. But Taylor Spivey will be left to rue that mistake, because it's just about that exact amount of gap. It would have brought her right up onto Caldwell's feet.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell from this angle, but I do think she's starting to bring that gap back down to Sophie Caldwell now. And had she taken that short shoot, she might have found herself already back in front of her. She has got one more chance to remember to take that short shoot. And you would think at this point that's absolutely vital to the result.
All right, we're going to head down now to the Boa Ignite transition area with the 3 Musketeers, and they're all with Annie.
Well, MG, she's got a stonking lead. No one can beat her now, can they?
No one can get Georgia Taylor Brown at the moment. She's in fine form, but I do tell you what's going to happen. Cassandra could get 3rd or 2nd. Here she comes now.
Okay, what's happening with Taylor? She didn't take the short shoot.
I think with all the commotion and everything happening so fast in this race, it's so hard for athletes to know what's happening. We try to communicate, but the transition time is so fast.
Can Sophie do it? Can she make the podium?
Yeah, I mean, like, she's gonna be there. It's just gonna be like, who's gonna be, Sophie or Taylor? I mean, they both are amazing athletes, so let's wait and see.
Thanks, guys.
Well, a mistake after mistake, some of which Taylor Spivey could do nothing about, some of which she can control. And at the moment, she has managed to make that 2.5 back that she was in arrears. And she'll know, this time I've got the short shoot. This time I've got it.
You would think she has to take it this time. That would be a fairly huge error. You don't want to end up in a sprint finish when you don't have to, when you've got a buffer there to use. Interesting as well to hear what MG Michael Gillen was saying there. Cassandra Beaugrand is the big mover at the moment. As she went through the end of lap 1, she was still, 12 seconds down on the athletes in 2nd and 3rd. That's a big gap to make in 1K. But if anyone can do it, Cassandra Beaugrand can do it.
Yeah, she's certainly not 12 seconds back now. You can see her at the top of the screen just disappearing there as this shootout between the Cheetah and the Rhino is heating up at the top end of this course. They're going to turn and go downhill now, and there's only going to be about 500 metres to go between these two, and they're both chasing Georgia Taylor Brown, who has disappeared and will pick up her 2nd Super League Championship Series win for the season, and in fact, in her career, out of 13 races, she hasn't been off the podium very many times, but she's only stood on the top step once in Munich, and this time has been supreme again. She will be your championship leader heading into the grand final. She will be a 2-time race winner. But what will happen lower on down the field between Taylor Spivey and Sophie Caldwell, and there they are at the back of screen, and this time Spivey knows she can take it, and she does. She sticks her arm out and says, do I do this? And she's told that she does.
She's put in a surge
and that's
there.
a handy little gap.
Yeah, she put in a real surge. You can see her really pick up her pace there. As you just saw Cassandra Beaugrand in the back of screen coming through that short shoot as well. I think she might just run out of real estate to get herself onto the podium, but she's given it everything she can do.
She absolutely has, Cassandra Beaugrand. Your last time out triple mix winner, it was a Scorpion in Beaugrand, and this time, well, in London, it was a French woman. And in France, it's going to be a Brit, and it's going to be Georgia Taylor-Brown. And Taylor Spivey is absolutely hooking it along the river to make sure that she comes into Neom with an equal start in the championship, but into the Boa Ignite transition area, onto the black carpet goes Georgia Taylor-Brown, who will win here in Toulouse. A French debut, and a Brit takes it all, and Taylor Spivey keeps her destiny in her own hands with a fighting second ahead of Caldwell, who will be third overall. So our top three in the championship standings are your top three on the podium today, and Cassandra Beaugrand has run away from the field to pick up fourth position as the Scorpions embrace once again, just as they did in London. A good run from Beth Potter. She was 8th heading into the run, finishes in 5th, passes Jean Lahaye, Laura Lindemann and Summer Rappaport, who also had the short shoot. Verena Steinhauser just ran out of matches to burn late on, as the bodies are on the floor, as they always are, and it's a good time to be in the commentary box, non-Stanford.
Yes, well, looking at this right now, I'm not sure I'm missing it too much. But, you know, Jeanne always gives everything. She's like this at the end of every race, and it's really impressive. It's really impressive what she can put herself through, and I think it's all for the team.
It goes towards her overall results, though. She's had 5th in Malibu, she had 4th in Munich, not a great start in London, 7th overall before today's result, and now it's another 6th. Brilliant result, really, from Jean Lahaye again.
Athletes still coming across the line, more than a minute back, and that is Miriam Garcia, who'll drop right out of the standings, and Van Coverdon and Woff crossing over a minute back as well, and they've really put in the hard yards, and it's a lot warmer than it looks, and Kathia Shah doesn't look healthy either after that one. They've really put in everything, these athletes. We're going to head down now, or soon, to the Boa Endure recovery area to hear from Georgia Taylor-Brown, who no doubt will tell us how tough it was when it didn't look tough at all for her at the front. And she is taking all the momentum into Neom. Let's head to Annie.
Wow, so controlled. Another perfect race on top of the podium. How are you feeling, Georgia? You look amazing.
I'm glad I just got to the finish line, to be honest. It hurt a lot today, and I really wasn't sure what my body was going to be able to do, so I'm like beyond happy with that.
Georgia, we know you've been dealing with a cold, but that didn't seem to affect you during this race.
Yeah, well, I guess not, but no, I mean, you can still hear it in me. It's just a bit phlegmy, just feeling a bit run down, and yeah, so I really wasn't sure what to expect today. So like I said, I'm so happy with that performance.
Would you say Toulouse has delivered the toughest course that we've seen so far in Super League this year?
Yeah, it's really tough, but it's probably one of my favourites because they've actually got a little hill in there, so I quite liked that little hill on the bike and on the run, but no, super fun course, and I really enjoyed being out there today.
Congratulations, we'll look forward to seeing you racing in Neom. Taylor Spivey, oh wow, you fought so hard for that second place. What did you do with that first short shoot?
I didn't know we had a short shoot, so on the first lap I didn't take it, and then I heard our team manager yell short shoot, so I was actually really glad because Sophie and I were just battling out on that last lap.
How important do you think it was, that short shoot, for you to get that second place? Because it's all about points right now.
The short shoot helped a ton. But yeah, I really wish I had known on the first lap. I think it helped, you know, me secure second, and I think Georgia and I are now tied for the series.
Congratulations on your second place here today, Taylor. Wow, well, Sophie Caldwell, that was a battle, but perhaps your best result that we've seen. You worked hard for that one, third here today in Toulouse.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely the hardest course, combination of like the coldness of the water, how warm it is, and then obviously the course itself. But yeah, podium in Munich and a podium again here, like, can't really complain. So yeah, good day out.
How much does it throw the girls off when they see an athlete come down on the bike course?
I think some people it does get in their head, but I think, like, for me, I just think just trust what you're doing. Like, I've done course recce's and we've been working quite a lot in British Triathlon about how we recce courses and the processes and stuff, so I just focus on what I'm trying to do.
Well, great stuff. We will look forward to seeing you in Neom, Sophie. Thanks very much. Well done.
Just another chapter playing out here, and a brutal race under beautiful skies here in Toulouse. Really turned it on here. This wonderful city down in the south of France, just 150 k's or so from the Mediterranean. It was Georgia Taylor-Brown who was just supreme in the end with an 18.18 in the last one, 5 seconds ahead of Taylor Spivey, who really ran it back after being 21 seconds back. Sophie Colwell picks up the podium, and Taylor's right, they will be equal heading in to the grand final. Cassandra Beaugrand and Beth Potter round out the top 5. Let's look back at how it all played out across the course of those 3 stages. And Sian Rainsley was strong in the swim early. She'd end up picking up an Eagles short shoot, which would go to Summer Rappaport in the end, and that was how she did it. And soon enough, though, it was the Scorpions that took over at the front. Firstly, Emma Jeffcoat, who's been so strong on the bike, and then Georgia Taylor-Brown, who has Jean Leher racing at home, shadowing her all of the way, picking up a Rhino's short shoot, which would go to Taylor Spivey and be extremely crucial in the end. Georgia Taylor-Brown was too strong early on in the race, and then in the run in stage 2, there were Scorpions to the front as well, Potter and Beaugrand. Beaugrand was the best of them in the end, but she would see her race disappear again on the bike, still struggling with the bike handling skills, as a few people did on this uphill turn out of transition. And once again, those with the supreme skills in the 1%ers are the ones that figured at the back end of the race. Verena Steinhauser was strong on that second bike. Miriam Garcia was struggling as well in the transition. Spivey was excellent. And in that swim, she really tried to dig back that time, which she did. Only about 6.5 seconds on Taylor-Brown, who would start stage 3 in the lead and be never headed. And instead, it was a race in 2 for the minor placings between Spivey and Colwell, while Taylor-Brown did what she does and just looked as smooth as she possibly could all the way through. Knew she had some time, while Colwell and Spivey just slugged it out, the pair of them again here in Toulouse. Beautiful shot there as they ran along the riverfront, and in the end it was a missed short shoot and then a taken short shoot that gave Spivey second position. Georgia Taylor-Brown crossing the line and doing it in style once again, and 56 points apiece as we head into the grand final. It will be between those two women, the Brit and the American, in 3 weeks' time in the Middle East. Sophie Colwell puts herself in the box seat for 3rd overall from Beth Potter and Verena Steinhauser, who had another strong race. Jean Leher is very close, but look how close it is between 3rd and 8th, Cassandra Beaugrand, who bumps herself up the standings from Woff and Van der Kay. As the sun continues to shine here in Toulouse and the temperature continues to rise, we're going to head down to the medal presentation. And again, it'll be Taylor-Brown with Spivey and Caldwell.
Ladies and gentlemen, the medal presentation for the women's race. Please welcome the medalists.
Really great crowd down here in Toulouse. They've enjoyed the sunshine, over 2,000 hours of sunshine a year, if you can believe that. And I'm saying that from Sydney, where it continues to rain all of the time. And I'm sad to not be able to enjoy the sunshine that they have so often in Toulouse. And in 3rd position already with 1 foot on the podium, Sophie Colwell, congratulations. And she just keeps getting better and better across this season. So 2 podiums, Vix, for Sophie, and she'll be very happy with that overall. She continues to figure in the pointy end of these races.
Yeah, she's really standing by in that driving seat. I've got Tim and then Caroline.
currently in third.
From
Sitting
United
pretty there for an
States
overall
of America,
podium.
representing Reno's Taylor Spivey.
Spivey and Taylor Brown share a few words as Taylor Spivey takes her spot on the podium as well. And she'll be so happy, Non, with being able to pull that back after a really tough, and we see it time and again. Matt Howes has done it, Georgia Taylor Brown's done it, and now coming back from an error to stay composed and to stay right in the championship hunt.
It's very, very difficult, and it's very impressive what she did today. And you really see who the stellar in-form athletes are when they can come back from something like that. It's mentally tough, if anything else, as well.
In the end, though, it was the Union Jack that was flying. Georgia Taylor Brown was too strong during the middle part of the race and just continued to put time into her competitors. And even with a little bit of a cold and maybe feeling a little flat, she's managed to do the job. And she will be the raging favourite ahead of Taylor Spivey to continue on her winning ways, with now a second round win to Spivey's one. And Beaugrand being the other one. She finished in 4th position, but Georgia Taylor Brown has just looked supreme. Of course, she is our reigning champion, but she did that with a last gasp win in Malibu last year after Jess Learmonth was so strong for the first 3 rounds. This time, she has led from the front, but she has been pushed all the way by a resurgent Spivey as well, and I cannot wait to see what is going to take place in 3 weeks' time. And I'm sure that we've got 2 very biased co-commentators here who'll say that Georgia Taylor Brown will definitely take it out. But, I mean, Vix, what do you think will happen as we have a look at the team leaderboard points?
I think one thing that is for sure is that those 2 are going to be the first and second athlete. They're going to duke it out head-to-head. I'd love to think that Georgia would win it as, you know, someone who's a good friend of Georgia's. But I think either of those would be really worthy winners.
A big move from the Scorpions, who move up into 2nd place, courtesy of Cassandra Beaugrand and Georgia Taylor Brown in the top 4. So important for that, as Taylor Brown, she's not even going to drink some. Oh no, she's going to have some. We've got 3 weeks until we get back to racing once again, as we're going to head down now to Annie, who's got Tim Don alongside her to analyse the race.
What a race, Tim. Your reactions on that one?
I think Georgia Taylor Brown is on another planet. She took control of the race on the bike. I could see her lines were different when she was with Lahair in the first race. She wasn't put under pressure. Cassandra didn't bring her A game to the race today, and Georgia was sublime. She really was.
Anyone else's performance that really stood out?
You know, I think Taylor, you know, I mean, how she raced, something happened on that first lap of the bike. She was there and then she lost a lot. But it's all in it for the final.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Tim.
All right, the action does not stop here as the crowd waits for the men to come out, and there are so many stars to keep an eye on as we head into the men's race in just a few minutes.
3 weeks of racing, and it took just 1 moment to blow the championship race wide open. Matt Hauser failing to stop at a stop sign, showing the elimination flag in Malibu, and now 14 championship points behind new leader Hayden Wild. The Falcons swooped on the opportunity, producing a 2nd season win to lead by a mile, heading here to Toulouse. And speaking of Toulouse, Vasco Vilasa has nothing to lose. The Portuguese pocket rocket swept into 2nd overall with another podium in the US. He will figure at the pointy end, as will a host of others who stepped up on the West Coast, led by Shachar Sagib, who produced the form we've been waiting for, and 20-year-old Brit Dan Dixon, who just keeps getting better. Added to the mix, local superstar, Olympic medalist and European champion Dorian Tonix, and it's only going to get tougher.
It is only going to get tougher, and the crowd are there for it as well. We're going to head down to Annie Emerson right now. We're going to get a bit of a course guide with Tim Don, who's been out there and he's seen what's happened with the women's, and how do they attack it? That is the big question.
Tim, I think the only person that knows this course better than the athletes is you. Talk us through the swim.
You know, the swim's really interesting. We saw in the women's race the current played a factor. In the last round, we saw they weren't swimming in a straight line because it was pushing them. Starting on the left of the pontoon is a big advantage. The powerful swimmers are going to get out in front and keep the pressure on. But again, the transition, they have to nail. It's a long transition. This is the biggest field we've had this year for the men. So transition's important. Up that hill on the bike, they really need to be in the right gear. Probably put your feet on the first straight. Then you hit the snake, the technical section. There's some really fast corners there. If you hit that right, like Georgia Taylor Brown was, you're going to really reap the benefits. When there was a crash in the women's, it turned a 2-second gap into a 10-second gap. Need to be in the front of your bike group. And then once they hit the run, I mean, it's only one lap and one lap, but again, it's up that hill. If you go too hard on the hill, you're not going to have the strength to come through. The last round, 2 laps of the run. Again, you've got to build into that. It's only 2 kilometres, but they've been going so fast for so long, they really need to focus and pace yourself. Short shoots are going to be really important in the men's race, I think. That could be the difference. You can move up 2 or 3 places. The fact you get it twice, I think it's going to give them that mental edge. It's twisty, it's technical. They've ridden the course a lot today, so I'm really excited to see how the men's race unfolds.
And just the last one for you, Tim. Who do you think's going to get this one?
My heart says Maddie Hauser and my head says Maddie Hauser. Eagles all the way.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Tim.
Beautiful scenes in the calm before the storm here in Toulouse, and the men's race always extremely tightly contested, and this course is going to see some really interesting moments, and there's a couple of names that are going to float to the top of this one who you'd think would be there or thereabouts, and they're fresh names, and we're talking about people like Jonny Brownlee, we're talking about people like Dorian Connings, who comes in and he joins the Eagles, and that guy Dan Dixon alongside Jamie Riddle have been 2 who have really figured in this racing, as Matt Hauser decides that he doesn't want to be Dorian Connings. He's going to wait for Dorian to come out, and he's a great addition to this one alongside Matt Hauser and Emil Holm, Vicky.
Yeah, this Eagles men's team has picked up lots of points in the overall and also in the individual disciplines so far. And I think the addition of Dorian Connings is going to be really important for them today.
Sergio Baxter's one of those who has been under a bit of a cloud in terms of illness, but Vasco Vilasa is a guy that's just gotten better and better. Maximilian Spurl comes in for João Silva, who injured himself early on in the series. So the German comes in alongside Valentin Wernz. But it's Vilasa who, I guess, leads this team in terms of the overall and continues to get better and better, Non.
Yeah, he's been very impressive. I think Malibu was really good, especially considering his seal encounter a few days before the race. You know, he came back from that quite impressively.
That's true. Tyler Mislichuk needs to bounce back. He has had a quiet middle of the series after a great start. Kenji Nina comes back into the fold after missing Malibu, and he's been so strong as well. And Nathan Lessman, the young Frenchman, who is only 23 years of age and gets a wild card on home turf. And there is Jonny Brownlee, who had a virus in Malibu, ended up spending most of the time in his room despite travelling over to the US. And he'll be up the pointy end along with Shachar Sagiv and Max Stapley too, who's gotten better and better, but Jonny looks on one at the moment, Vix.
Yeah, Jonny is one of the few athletes who's coming in a little bit fresher. He had that virus, but he seems to be fully recovered, and he seems to be confident and excited about this race today.
Hayden Wild, Chase McQueen, Panagiotis Pitados, the man from Greece, and Taylor Reid are all people that have figured during some of it, especially Reid and McQueen in the swim, who've really been fighting it out. And of course, there is your championship leader, the Kiwi Hayden Wild, who, courtesy of a fantastic win in Malibu and also Matt Hauser's bad fortune, finds himself with 11 points buffer in the championship, ahead of Vilasa, and then a further couple of points back to Hauser. So he could really put the foot on the throat here with another win and just about take it out, although there are more points on offer as we get ready. And Non, you pointed it out correctly in terms of pontoon positions. Who's in the best spot here?
So you've got the Scorpions on the far left as they're looking out to the first buoy. They're in the prime position, and the Cheetahs on the opposite side are probably in the most difficult position when you think about the current is moving from right to left in front of them, or left to right, sorry, in front of them. Jonny Brownlee in that Cheetahs team, so that could be interesting here today.
Let's do it. The triple mix again here in Toulouse. The men into the water now. And in the middle there, in pontoon position 2 and 3, are the big swimmers of the Eagles, with Jamie Riddle, Matt Hauser, and then Taylor Reid and Chase McQueen are the big swimmers in the middle of the group in the Sharks. And it looks like Reid, I think, who's got a nice start, but also closest to us here is Stapley in the Cheetahs, who is another one who's been a little bit under the weather coming into this one, but a fantastic swimmer in his own right.
Yeah, and coming from that start position there as well, he's doing a brilliant job at the moment, trying to make the most of the bad luck he's been given in the pontoon draw, but he's doing everything he can to put himself at the pointy end of the race so early on.
I wonder if actually that's a bit of a team tactic to try and get out as fast as he possibly can to help keep Jonny in the race from the start, because as you can see, he's level with all the other athletes. He's going to be on the outside going into the buoy, which can sometimes be a bit tricky, but he's done a great job to get himself into that position so quickly.
5 wide going into the first buoy. The big question is, where is Hayden Wild? Because I mean, we know he's got supreme bike handling skills, and he's going to need them if he's going to have a lot of traffic between him and the leaders. And Matt Hauser will know that he needs to lead from the front and put as much time as possible into the Falcon. Hayden Wild, as they round the first buoy, and it looks to be Riddle out the front, I think, and plenty behind him in a bit of a washing machine.
Yeah, I think I just saw Matt Hauser get a little bit crushed on the inside of that turn buoy there, so not the start that he would have wanted, especially after the disappointment of Malibu. He'll really want to be getting out there, putting his marker down early and trying to put the possibility of him getting back to the top of the leaderboard, or as close to as possible.
The young Dan Dixon having a great swim here. He's just on the hip of Jamie Riddle, and again showing the pontoon position and how important it is. The 2 Eagles who are in the second spot at the front, and we know Jamie's very strong, but that's a fantastic swim from Dan.
He's just getting better and better, the 20-year-old from Northumberland, Dan Dixon, who's just been really enjoying his time here in Super League and will no doubt be a fixture for seasons to come. Has just gotten better and better with the experience, and it's always a bit of a daunting one to debut in Super League. And I don't think there's a single debutant who didn't say afterwards, gee, I really didn't think it was going to be that fast at the beginning. But Dan Dixon has taken it in his stride.
Yeah, Dan's not done a huge amount of senior racing yet. Most of his senior racing, in fact, has come at Super League races, both at the Arena Games earlier this year. He was 4th in Singapore, but then in this series, this autumn that we're having at the moment, and I think he was a little bit shocked at the swim pace and the overall intensity and ferocity of these races, but he's really finding his feet. That 4th place in Malibu last weekend seems to have done him the world of good, and he's going to come out right at the front of this first swim.
I think you do tend to see athletes either rise or crumble at Super League, and I think Dan is definitely one of those athletes that's rising to the occasion, learning every week and getting better and better.
Riddle, Dixon out of the water, McQueen as well, and I think that's Kenji Nina of the Scorpions, and Tyler Mislachuk is there as well, as they all come filing out. And who is going to pick up that first short shoot for their team? Stapley didn't have a great second half of that race. Riddle jogging in, helmet on, and a little bit more urgency to be shown by Dixon, but it's Riddle who's going to get out first, I think. And I think we're going to see, is it Nina or is it Riddle? It's going to be Riddle. And the Eagles pick it up, and Nina was forced to just back it off a little bit as Riddle just moved him a little bit into the barrier.
Yeah, there was no ease up there. There was no let up from Jamie Riddle. Full commitments to getting that short shoot for Team Eagles, and it's paid off.
Well, it's Kenji Nina, though, who leads them up the hill, and he is an absolute machine on the bike. We saw it in the Arena Games in Singapore. I was standing right in front of him. He was pushing about 6.5 watts a kilo and looked like his stare could melt through metal. He was so focused. I moved out of the road. It was too scary for me. I couldn't go anywhere near him. He was such a machine, and he's doing the same thing. As sitting in behind him is Dixon, who's really improved to get on the back wheel, and the two of them are really putting down the early marker here in the warm middle part of the day in Toulouse, as down the hill they go for the first of 4 laps.
We saw in the women's race as well, there was a big advantage to be had being out front, not having to deal with a big pack, to be able to take your own lines, to not feel crowded on this tight, narrow course. And that'll definitely be an advantage for those 2 guys out front, as it will be really for this group of 4 just behind them.
I did notice that Matt Hauser was quite far down coming out of the swim there, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can work his way back up, whether he's anywhere near Hayden Wilde, and they can work together to get themselves back into the race.
Emil Holm was on the front of that sort of 3rd group there, and about 3 or 4 people back, I think that was Matt Hauser. So I'm yet to get eyes on Hayden Wilde and just see how far down he came out of that swim. It's always the question with Hayden, if he can minimise the damage in the swim, he's almost unbeatable from there on in.
3 seconds covering the top 6, with Dan Dixon now off the front and really pushing the pace as they head up once again. He is not here to muck around. He is the 20-year-old. And the race really stringing out.
Jonny Brownlee was interestingly also quite far down in the group there, so maybe a victim of being on that bad side of the pontoon.
Yeah, I can only think that didn't play into their hands at all. We saw it in the women's race, and unsurprisingly again so far, it seems that the Eagles and the Scorpions had the best swim, closely followed by the Sharks, who were the next along the pontoon in order. And unfortunately for the Cheetahs, they're really falling foul of that start position that they had.
So, second lap on the bike, and I'm looking back through the splits. Jonny Brownlee 11.3 seconds back. Hayden Wilde was 10 seconds back, and Matt Hauser was 8.7 seconds back. As a group here, led by McQueen, are all together about 3 seconds back off the leaders.
Dan Dixon is really going for it on this lap of the bike. I wonder if he's trying to get a faster spike split to bring in those all-important points for the Eagles. The Eagles really are on a points chase this weekend. They're currently in last, so I think they're going to try every which way to bring them in.
Nothing to lose, everything to gain by just absolutely charging through any possible points or short shoot advantages they might get.
All right, we're going to find out what the team orders are. We're going to go down to Eagles manager Tim Don and find out what he told Dan Dixon.
Oh, wow, what a start. The Eagles were on fire. What have you said to Dan Dixon?
You know, this morning, Dan Dixon was cornering like he was on rails. He's just read the course really well. He's walked it a lot. And, yeah, he's executing. He was 4th in Malibu. He's really taken that as great confidence. The short shoot was won as well by Jamie, and we got loads of points in the swim.
Early days, but looking good at the moment, Tim.
They'll need to, because they are at the bottom of the standings at the moment in the team points, the Eagles, after winning in 2021. So a bit of humble pie being eaten by Tim Don, who'll tell you that 7 of his 8 athletes were not in the series this year, so it makes it hard with that amount of turnover as Dixon heads down now by himself, and McQueen alongside a couple of Scorpions, another Shark, and Jamie Riddle at the back as the second Eagle. I don't see any Rhinos in the top 6 at the moment.
Dan just seems to be moving further and further away from this group here, and you know, he could put himself in really good stead for that pursuit start. If he gets time here, he really puts himself with a good chance of getting on the podium at the end if he has a big enough lead going into that 3rd and final race.
Yeah, we've seen what it can really do for you to get a big advantage in round 1 of the triple mix, and at the moment Dan's putting himself in a fantastic position.
You only have to hope that he hasn't done a bit too much on this first leg, because he is younger, like we keep saying, maybe doesn't have the endurance of the other athletes, but let's see.
And it's easy to get excited. It's really easy to get excited when you're young, you're out front in a race like this. Incredible crowds lining Toulouse Centre here today, and that will just be spurring him on. I know he had a bit of time out in America right after the last race in Malibu. He's got an American coach, spent a little bit of time with him. So he's obviously brimming with confidence at the moment, but will he have gone a little bit too hard too early? Well, time will tell.
Let's find out. He could deny the rest of the field a short shoot. He's already picked up, or the Eagles have already picked one up through Riddle. And then if the Eagles pick up another one, well, they don't get another one. They just deny anyone else the second short shoot and potentially the third if it continues on like this. But the big names down the field you want to keep track of. Hayden Wild still 10 seconds down. Matt Hauser is 10 seconds down, so they're together. And Vasco Velasco, who splits them in the championship, is 12 seconds back. Jonny Brownlee's there as well. So there's a big group, and here they are, the train. Brownlee on the back there, along with Burns. And there's no rhinos anywhere near the top 10 at the moment, so they'll be a bit worried about that with the Eagles picking up so many points. The Rhinos probably drop back to 4th. And there is the gap from Dixon back to the train that are now all coming together as they head into transition and into the Bowl Ignite transition area for the first time off the bike. And Dixon, if he gets this right, will pick up a second short shoot for the Eagles. And by that I mean deny anyone else the short shoot, which he will do. So the Eagles remain the only one with a short shoot as Dixon heads out on a 1 kilometre run to see if he can do the same thing again.
Yeah, it's really important. If you can take all 3 short shoots for your team, it has a huge effect on the overall race. I think we saw that in London with Bahrain, where the Bahrainian women got all 3 of the short shoots, and it just really blocks the other teams and gives your team that bit of an advantage. They're doing really well here, and I think he might be able to hold on, because remember, it's only 1 lap on this first race.
Also interesting to notice there, as they came out of transition, all 5 Eagles are currently in the top 10. That's a fantastic packing from that team, and as we've said a couple of times, they find themselves at the bottom of the overall leaderboard at the moment, so these are incredible points, and if they were to all finish in that position, it would really help their chances of moving off the bottom of the leaderboard.
The noise just surging here as down one of the straights comes Dixon with Hauser, Mislachok, Nina, and there is Wild in the purple ahead of Emil Holm, Taylor Reid, Jamie Riddle, and Dorian Connix, the Frenchman, who's joined the Eagles. So there we go, 5 Eagles, as we said, in the top 10.
Just a sea
Dixon
of white.
out the front, he's losing time. It is a sea of white, that's right. Like summertime on an English beach.
Birds of a feather flock together, that's the saying, isn't it?
I think Dan Dixon's going to come back to the pack, and it's Hayden Wild and Matt Hauser who have risen to the front now. And there is Wild in second. He's going to go down the inside on Dixon, is he? No, but it's only a matter of time. Dixon's hurting now. Wild, Hauser, Mislachuk.
What Dan Dixon has managed to do, though, is by securing that second short shoot, or rather just preventing any other team from getting a short shoot, is more than likely, if we are going to see that face-off once again between Hayden Wild and Matt Hauser. The Eagles can use that short shoot for Matt Hauser, and he will get to take it, if remembered, on both laps of that final run, and that could be crucial.
Well, not if Hayden Wild takes the run short shoot. Yeah, they're both going to have 1 each. You're exactly right. So it's good to see Tyler Mislachuk up there at the pointy end as well. He has promised much. He hasn't delivered in the last 2. Looks like he's going to finish 3rd in this one, but they're all going to finish with a blanket over them, so there's really going to be no real benefits after stage 1. But it's stage 2 where we see the money really made in this one, and the gaps start to open up as Wild looks behind, knows that he's probably got the stage 1 win, but he won't take much of an advantage over Matt Hauser as into the Bowl Ignite transition area they come, the black carpet. And Wild takes stage 1 ahead of Matt Hauser, and they immediately set up for stage 2. A couple of Scorpions next in Mislachuk and Nina. Dorian Connix finished well there. Dan Dixon really put it all in. Richard Murray had a good result too with 9th. And there is Jonny Brownlee, who ends up finishing in 11th. But only 10 seconds covering the top 11. A little bit different to what we saw in the women's race. Who we don't see there, though, is Vasco Velasco. Where is Vasco Velasco gone on our timing sheets?
Second in our overall rankings, just come through there at 29.4 seconds down. That's a huge loss in terms of time on round 1, and that's really going to hurt his chances. It obviously helps someone like Matt Hauser, who's sitting just behind him in the overall rankings at the moment, but that's a really disappointing start for Vasco.
Right, we're going to head down now to the black carpet and hear from our athletes. We can see Annie Emerson getting set up right now. Annie?
Dan, what a first leg for you. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, no, that was really good. Felt strong and yeah, set myself and the team up for a good rest of the race. So yeah, I'm just concentrating on leg 2 now.
Looked like Kenji had words with you, but you kind of gave it to him and dropped him on the bike.
Yeah. I felt good on the bike, so why not go for it? I got the short shoot as well, so yeah, all good.
It's looking good for the Eagles. Well done, Dan.
Always appreciate the access that the athletes give to us and give to Annie specifically when they've still got so much to do and so much to set up. And let's have a look back at what happened with the short shoots. And the first one, of course, went to Dan Dixon. A bit of argy-bargy coming out of the water, but a nice solid transition. Actually went to Jamie Riddle, who managed to out-sprint Kenji Nina. And only in Super League would you have a sprint whilst holding your bike, but that is the way we do things here. And Dan Dixon was the one that took the second short shoot, so the Eagles denied everyone, and the third went to the Sharks and Hayden Wild. Not sure whether Hayden will get it. It was all up to the managers to choose who in their team picks it up. Maybe more points will be given, for example, when it was given to Cassandra Beaugrand in the women's race, as they line up with the top 5 at the front in this one. And we know how important it is to finish at the front and get that nice run position, because it's a narrow old run and it's hard to run through, as Taylor Spivey said. Now, confirmation from the women's race of Cassandra Beaugrand still leads the women's swim overall. Georgia Taylor-Brown leads the women's bike and Beaugrand leads the women's run, and there's plenty of money and points on offer for the overall fastest lap leaders in each round for the swim, bike and run jersey at the end of the season. But right now, we turn our attention back to the black carpet in Toulouse, and it's a run, bike, swim. And if we know something, we know that it's the fatigue swim at the end of stage 2 that can really change a race. Matt Hauser put it down in London with an incredible swim to swim right past Hayden Wild and put himself in the box seat, which he eventually would relinquish again as Shachar Sagiv leads out this run with Matt Hauser on his hip. And Chris Perham, who we haven't spoken too much about, having a big run.
You've got to think he's going for the run lap here. We've not seen a huge amount of Chris throughout the series, but at this point then there's absolutely nothing to lose, is there? You might as well go and put your hat in the ring to try and bring home some points for the team. And we know the Scorpions team have amazing females that seem to be racking up the points, but they don't have quite so many high-scoring males in their team. So perhaps this is team orders from Michael Gilliam to try and send Chris Perham out to potentially get the run points for the day.
Chris is being sacrificed for the team here at the front, and he's going to have a very difficult time after this if he does indeed manage to take this one.
Yeah, Matt Hauser's having none of it though. He's saying, you know, I've got some time to make up, and thank you very much, I'll take those run points.
Yeah, come on, Matt, leave some for the rest of us, champion. Wild sitting there in third position, just watching where Hauser is. Mislachuk there as well from Nina, and Murray having a good run. Our inaugural 2017 champion further back in the field. And it's tough going for Maximilian Sperl, the German, who's at the back. And Vasco Velasa, where is he? There he is there in about 7th or 8th position. So trying to limit the damage that he's caused himself in stage 1. 2nd overall and already 30 seconds back on the pursuit start. 3 Scorpions together coming around that double apex right-hand turn and down back onto the river once again.
Again, we're seeing Jonathan Brownlee towards the back of this field. You know, they've all started together on this run. So I just wonder if he hasn't fully recovered from the virus that he had in Malibu. You know, it's a lot of travel as well. And, you know, maybe it's taken a bit more out of him than he hoped.
Yeah, it's a very long way to go to be sick and to spend sort of a few days in your hotel room. You don't get the benefit of being in your own bed, and he'll have had to do the long haul travel twice with obviously the jet lag and time difference. So maybe, yeah, he's just not quite as recovered as he'd hoped that he would be in time for today.
Yeah, it's tough getting flown around the world, isn't it? I don't know how he copes.
Says the man who stayed in Sydney.
Here comes Chris Perham. Here comes the big man himself. He's going to get this fastest run lap if he dies in the attempt. And Wild's already got the... he's thinking the long game. He's already got the swim cap on ahead of Hauser there, and Connings has had a good run as well. Velasa needs one too. He's 2.5 seconds back. Rich Murray's the only one within 5 seconds of the top 10. Jonny Brownlee 6.7 seconds back. And and Max Staplin, Panagiotis, Bidados, well, all of them finishing within 10 seconds after that extremely quick 1 kilometre run. And out the front now, it's Hayden Wild and Matt Hauser as we head down now to the Bellwood Night transition area, and Michelle Dillon with Annie Emerson.
Transition, Hayden Wild though, your main team member out in front.
He's looking great today. I think he's got really good legs, you can see that. He's having some really fast transitions. He's leading at the moment. The other boys are doing super well too. We're having a good day so far, fingers crossed.
Good luck with the rest of the race.
Well, we'll get confirmation of what happened with those fastest laps and if Chris Perham did actually do the job soon. But Dorian Connings is starting to show his class. He's behind Mislichuk, who's behind Wild. And Hauser sitting there in 4th position. Hauser and Wild with one eye, and Velasa now on the overall. But the rest of these athletes are looking at points and cash for the race win, and of course momentum going into the grand final where there is so much on the line, as Dan Dixon looks like he spent a few too many matches in the first stage.
That young excitement maybe was a little bit too much for him. We have actually just, as I say, that got through the confirmation of the run stage, the run splits. Hayden Wild held on to the overall run jersey today, or he had the fastest run today, I should say, in 2:32. Chris Perham there with a 2:34 is a second and a half behind, so he nearly did enough, but the heroics on that run weren't quite enough to take him all the run points back to the Scorpions team today.
Still gets 6 run points though, loses out on the 8, so Hayden Wild picks up the 8, so good work for Chris Perham, but picks up the 6 run points from Matt Hauser, who finished in a 2:35.3. These are ridiculous times. I can't even imagine running a kilometre up and down these hills in a 2:35. I don't know, my car might not make it in a 2:35. Anyway,
it wouldn't round this course.
Now.
Definitely wouldn't round here. These streets, you couldn't be going fast round here. You probably run it faster than you could drive it.
Maybe you, not me. And a big cheer from the crowd here in the south of France as their man Dorian Connings, who is a bit of a hero around these parts, having been part of the bronze medal winning mixed team relay team for the French. And of course, we're coming up to the Paris Olympics as well, so plenty of appetite for Olympians here in France, with Paris now not too far away, and Wild sitting ahead of Mislichuk, Hauser and Chachar Sagiv, who is still carrying the momentum of that breakthrough second place in Malibu, which was just so impressive.
I'm actually surprised it's the first time that we've seen Dorian at the front of the race. He tends to be a bit more of a relay and sprint distance specialist. It was only a few weeks ago that he beat Christian Blumenfeld over in Bergen in a World Cup over the sprint distance. So, yeah, I'm surprised this is the first time we've seen him, but maybe he's being tactically smart and been saving himself a bit for the back end of this race.
And we've said so many times, haven't we, that debutantes struggle in this format. You know, you think you're good at this short, punchy distance racing, you get thrown into the ring, the bear pit, I think, as Matt Hauser terms it, of Super League, and things get thrown a bit up in the air, and it takes you time to find your feet and to work out how to really race this distance properly. But Dorian right now seems to have found his way.
It's going to turn into quite the shootout in stage 3. As it stands, there's basically nothing between the top guys. 3 seconds between Wild, Hauser and Mislichuk, if indeed it finishes similar to this in terms of the overall pursuit start. But something, well, I'm going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons now. There's been some 5-second penalties handed out for shoes outside the box, and they go to Ryan Fisher, Chris Perham, who was way too deep to get that right, and Matt Hauser, who is going to serve a 5-second penalty. He's sitting there in 4th position. He's going to find out about that when he finishes this stage, and he's going to need the swim of his life again as Wild continues to push at the front, and the train rolls through for another lap on the bike.
Matt Hauser has a real get-out-of-jail-free card with his swim. We saw it in London when he was wrongly issued a penalty. I assume this one is correctly issued. In London, he was off the back of that race, and his second swim when he ended stage 2 was so much better than everyone else's. He put himself right back into the mix. with that penalty, we've just heard that he's been awarded that 5 seconds. He's going to need to do exactly the same again, and no doubt Hayden Wild's going to try to employ the same sort of tactics that he did on the final round in London, where he just stuck to his hip, would not let Matt Hauser get away from him. He needs to try and do exactly the same thing again.
Yeah, Hayden Wild will do whatever it takes to win within the rules of triathlon, and that's what makes him our championship leader. And confirmation now that both, well, there's a shark short shoot and there's an eagle short shoot, and they go to Hayden Wild and to Matt Hauser. So our two championship protagonists will both have the short shoot that was earned. Well, Hayden Wild earned his own, but Dan Dixon earned the one that goes to Matt Hauser. So a great team effort from Dixon, who has dropped off the back of this pack completely and maybe ruining his efforts in stage one, as Connix continues to get better and better. Now, he's 4.5 seconds back after the stage one timings, so it looks like he's not going to lose too much more than that if he has a good swim as he looks behind him. But it's completely different. It's a completely different race to the women's, this, isn't it? There's a huge group, and they are all absolutely hammering along. There's got to be 15 athletes there.
Yeah, they're definitely all still together. And Connix is an athlete who is strong across all three. He doesn't have a weakness. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him right up there come that last run on the third stage. He's a great player, and I might even back him for a podium at this stage already.
Tim Don just telling him to stay calm. He's got the 5-second penalty. He's taken it now.
Well, this is where Matt Hauser swims really well from. You know, you send him in at the back and he'll work his way to the front. But another amazing transition from Hayden Wild. We saw him do it in London. Such a tactical, technically brilliant racer. He's going in with a huge pack of athletes, a lot of whom will swim better than him, but he's put himself right at the front, meaning they all have to swim round him. It's exactly the right thing for him to have done there.
I think what Hayden has to be mindful of here is the current. He's already on the right-hand side going into that buoy. He really should have tried to be in the left to force the other athletes to go to the right of him so that he had the upper hand the whole way. And you can see that gap between Connix and Hayden sort of widening, and that could play a role now going around this first buoy.
So Connix will have the run into the first buoy, but Wild might just be far enough ahead to come over the top of him. It looks like he is going to be, and it's a good swim from Hayden Wild. He's capable of him. We saw it at the Commonwealth Games. He had a fantastic swim if he puts it together, but at the moment he is getting swallowed up somewhat by Connix on one side, and looks like Kenji Nina closest to screen here in the Scorpions. Kid who's having another good race. And short shoot at the bottom of your screen, confirmation it does go to Hauser and Wild. So I don't know where Matt Hauser is after having served that little penalty, but he's in that group somewhere.
I think he's in that sort of second row back as they come into this turn buoy now. There's two eagles swimming side by side. I believe he's one of those, and he really wants to move himself a little bit further up as we see Dorian Connix there swimming without goggles. I'm not sure if he's had those knocked off or if he decided to go without them, but he's definitely not got any goggles on now, and he got a bit caught up at that turn buoy.
After a bit of a sluggish start, Jonny Brownlee is right back up there. He's on Connix's feet, so he's had a real comeback on this second race.
Connix just, because he hasn't got goggles on, he just keeps going underneath all the boys. He's getting cut off a little bit. Matt Hauser was 9 seconds back after that penalty was served, so he had 9 seconds to make up on Wild and the leaders in this race. Mostly Wild when we talk about the championship, and we'll see when they come out of the water exactly where he is. And the big swim from Nina.
And the big difference in this race to London is when he went into the water in London, he had clean water. He was able to swim around two athletes, and then it was completely clear for him all the way back in. In this race, there's a lot of traffic there. There's been a huge pack that went into the water together. I think he seems to be struggling a little bit to make his way through in quite the same way as we saw him do in that first triple mix of the season.
Beautiful setting in the River Garonne for this French debut, as this is one of 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, part of the river along here, and it's a beautiful setting with a couple of thousand years of history, and yet so much on the cutting edge of so many industries, including in triathlon now, as Super League makes its debut here, and hopefully comes back for many more years to come. And I think that's McQueen closest to us, is it, who's having a nice swim just looks so calm and easy for Chase McQueen. Is it McQueen or Reed? Well, they're both there, the two Sharks. And Hauser alongside as they come out of the water. And it's Nina and then the two Eagles. And they're all shepherded up onto the black carpet. But it's Kenji Nina who leads from McQueen. Then it's Riddle and Connix. While Sagiv Brownlee's had a good swim. And right behind Taylor Reid there was Matt Hauser. As they come over the line, and Nina will take the stage 2 win from McQueen and Riddle. And Wild will extend his lead somewhat.
About another 3 seconds.
2.
Yeah, but another 3 seconds there he's taken out of Matt Hauser, which, with the penalty that Matt had, I think he'll probably be relatively pleased with that, but he's equally, we know what he can do in the swim. So I think he would have possibly hoped to be able to take a bit more of that time back and maybe even go into the final stage in front. That hasn't happened. So if he's really going to try and hammer home his advantage over Hayden Wild, he's going to have to do that on the final swim. You can't see him really outrunning Hayden, or if he does, it's not going to be by a significant amount. It's going to be, you know, very small amounts in it. The only times we've seen a big difference between these two athletes has been in swim sections in various races this series.
So Velasa was a further 12 seconds back in that stage, so we can pretty much write him off for the overall. He's now 40 seconds in arrears from our leaders, so he is going to see his place at second overall heading in to Neom under threat as Sagiv and Nina led this one for parts. Chris Perham gave it absolutely everything to pick up that 8 points. He ended up picking up 6, which is a fantastic effort. Hayden Wild and Dorian Connix were very, very strong on the bike along the top part of the course. Hauser was given a 5-second penalty and he knew it. Wild headed into the River Garonne first, was soon swallowed up by Nina, Connix, McQueen, and it was Nina who got out clean enough and picked up the stage 2 win. And Hayden Wild took a little bit more out of Matt Hauser.
Well, Hayden, it's looking good at the moment. Is it going according to plan for you?
Yeah, it's tough out there, you know. Everyone's close together, which is actually really good. Yeah, it makes it interesting, and yeah, how good, like, there's not big gaps, which is really nice for the sport, so I'll do my best out there and just try and make it to the finish line. And yeah, with Dorian in there with fresh legs and all of us up to our 4th race, yeah, his impact is pretty big, so we'll see if we can keep on that fiery Frenchman and go for it.
Some people say your swim is your weakness, but that was a pretty decent swim, that last one.
Yeah, I got pretty hit by Shav and Jonny. I got sandwiched by the cheaters, but
sorry for that.
I found a shark and got in Chase's feet, and all was good. So
I'll let you carry on. I'm going to move over here to Matthew Hauser. Matthew, I'm happy to walk and talk if you want me to. What was that 5-second penalty? Schoolboy error. That's not like you.
Schoolboy error. Yeah. Got to get ahead of the game. It's have a week off and make those silly mistakes. So can't afford to do that.
Talk us through that bike course, because you're coming off a bit of a nasty crash in Malibu. Does that throw your confidence a bit?
Not really. You just got to believe in your craft, and I think I spent a bit of time in Loughborough with the boys and Alex Yee, and they were teaching me to go around some pretty tough corners, so yeah, my head's back in it.
Happy to walk and talk if you want. I know you've got to get down to the start line. Just talk us through that run. This whole course is super tough, perhaps the toughest course we've seen so far in Super League racing this year.
Yeah, arguably the toughest for sure. I think the strongest guy's going to win out there today, and it's going to all come down to this one, so I look forward to it.
Great stuff. Good luck, Matt.
75 seconds until the start.
Matt Hauser really speaking like he is on for one today, and he knows Hayden Wild is his main rival. And a big crowd waiting for this one. The pursuit start in stage 3, and it's going to be 2 seconds back to Kenji Nina, who's figured well in this second stage. Matt Hauser, Dorian Connix, Taylor Reid. There's no gaps between these guys, really. Tyler Mislichuk, Emil Holm, Jamie Riddle is there Further back, though, Vasco Valasa 39 seconds in arrears, and Dan Dixon really left something out there in stage 2 as well. But Valasa is the big loser today. And now we get into stage 3, and, well, who do we think? Vix Holland, non-Stanford. Vix, I'll start with you. Can anyone chase down Hayden Wilde? Could it be Connix, or could it be someone else like a Kenji Nina?
Well, you can't underestimate Kenji. He's put in a brilliant performance here. He was great in Munich as well. I still think that Hayden Wilde possibly has the edge on the day. I think he's a wily character. He's put himself in a brilliant position, and he's just shown across this series he's so hard to beat.
All right, let's get into it. Non, I'll ask you in just a second. Right now, Michael Thompson is about to lower the flag, and off goes Hayden Wilde. 2 seconds to Kenji Nina, and then a couple more to Matt Hauser and Dorian Connix, and straight out goes Wilde. He has the short shoot for stage 3, as does Hauser, and the rest follow him out. Nina, then Connix, and such a great mount onto the bike from Hayden Wilde, who has been there and done that despite being so early on in his career. Can anyone chase him down, Non?
I wonder if we're going to have a repeat of the women's race here with Georgia Taylor-Brown. Hayden's away now. He's very confident and able on the bike. He's obviously one of the strongest cyclists that we have on the series. And I just think he might stay away. There is an advantage to being on your own and being away. So let's see. But I could see him doing a repeat of Georgia.
He also transitioned.
Hang on, it looks like it. Because where is everybody?
Well,
it was 2 seconds in arrears, because I know he went up that fast, but he's already put a little bit of time into everybody just by that surge up the ramp.
I actually did see in the back of shot Kenji Nina wobbled into a barrier as he was trying to get on his bike, so I think Kenji may have found himself in the wrong gear, just having to take his time, reset. There he is, just on the back of that pack. So Kenji Nina had a bit of a wobble, and even not Hayden Wilde, I apologise, Matthew Hauser seemed to be struggling to get his helmet clip done up as he went through transition. Hayden Wilde, however, faultless. Did the little things right again, stole a march on absolutely everybody else, and as you can see now, can't see anyone else in shot.
Yeah, I thought there must have been an incident back there. I'm glad it wasn't worse than that, and now it was left to Dorian Connix to lead the chase back, as Wilde looks behind him and doesn't see anyone at all, and that 2 second gap has gone out to something like 6 or 8 seconds or more as people line one of the beautiful bridges here over the Garonne and watch this one as onto the black carpet goes Wilde for the first of 4 times. There's always one person in the crowd with a mullet. No doubt he's from New Zealand. As up the ramp again goes Wilde, chased now by a couple of Eagles. Emil Holm there on the front. And Connix joins him as Taylor Reid comes up into this group as well. So the order completely mixed up. Hauser and Nina are back there in 5th and 6th. Brownlee within 3 seconds, but everyone chasing Wilde.
You can't help but think that this is now a battle for 2nd and 3rd, even at this point in the race. It'll just be interesting how much time the men can claw back to Hayden on the swim, probably. But looking at him on that first run, he looked incredibly composed, really strong and confident. And even if it comes down to the run, I think Hayden might just have the upper hand once again.
Well, Matt Hauser sits in this pack, who's now been driven by his teammates in Holm and Connix, who'll be trying to drag Hauser up into contention, and of course drag themselves up into contention along the way as well. But Wilde's out there on his own, and you think to yourself, how much more energy is he spending pushing away from this crew, and is Hauser going to enjoy a better swim because of it? But, well, when it's Hayden Wilde, you really think he can do it all no matter what.
And that gap we're just seeing now has gone out to 10 seconds, so Hayden's got 10 seconds on that chase pack. We can just see them in the distance go underneath the tunnels there. But Hayden Wilde, he's such an aggressive racer anyway. He'll know that this is the perfect scenario for him.
Wilde up the ramp once again, and this group doesn't know what hit them. Let's head down to Annie with a couple of the key team managers.
Well, this is a sort of race we like. It's all happening right until the end. Hauser's got some work to do, though, hasn't he, if he's going to pull back Wilde?
Yeah, he's got the short shoot, but so's Hayden. But there's lots of athletes in there. It's not a done deal for 2nd. You can see Hayden's just on another planet at the moment in this race. But the Eagles are working together, and I'm really proud of them.
And your thoughts on Wilde, Michelle Dillon?
It's pounding. I am so nervous. I counted around like 12 to 15 seconds that he had, and I think he's extended that again on this lap. So I just hope, you know, it's just smooth sailing from here, and hopefully he's got the win.
Hard to bet against him. Good luck, guys.
It is 12 seconds, 12.3 as it stands after lap 3, as the group try to find a way to reel in the Falcon, who is flying away at the front of this one. But as I said, it's all on for second and third. But Hayden Wilde, if it stays like this, depending on the placements, and that's the key part now, especially for Matt Hauser, with Vasco Valasa off the back. Matt Hauser is the man who can keep himself in contention as we head to Neom. But look at that. It's just a man on his own out there, Hayden Wilde, who is already 11 points ahead, and that's of Vasco Valasa, who is well back. So it's about how much Hauser can limit the points differential.
That gap's huge now. I'm sure we'll get a split pretty soon, but that gap is definitely going out over that third lap. Hayden Wilde looking in the box seat from here on in.
I wonder a little bit if this group now are just watching themselves. They know that Hayden's at the road, he's gone, out of sight, out of mind, and these guys now just looking at each other, working out what each other's doing, and kind of racing for that second and third position.
17 seconds that deficit is now between Hayden Wilde and the chase pack, so that's a huge gap. We know that Hayden's swim, whilst vastly improved, is not his strength, and that's where some of the athletes in that chase pack, like Matt Hauser, will be hoping to claw back some time. But 17 seconds is a huge amount of time to try and gain on just 300 meters, and you just can't see it happening from this point in.
Last lap of the bike, and Brownlee tagged onto the back of this group, who are fighting for second and third. And on the front is Shachar Sagiv, who, of course, finished second in Malibu, could back it up again here, and he finished second to Hayden Wilde, and it was a lot closer than it is right now. And that is a bike leg that has blown the field completely apart. He started 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. He had a great transition onto the bike, and from there he has absolutely dominated, and he's turned that into 17 seconds. And that was at the last split too, could be more now.
I think Hayden just needs to be careful on this swim, just keep it controlled. He has such a huge advantage, a little bit like what we were saying with Georgia Taylor-Brown. She didn't need to exert all her energies onto the swim so that she can get onto the run, or sorry, he can get onto the run now and just concentrate on having a fast run. But it's kind of, the race is completely in his hands.
Just to jump in there, I didn't see Matt Hauser come in with that group. There's a couple of Eagles there, but I don't think Matt Hauser is there, so something must have happened.
What's happened with Shachar Sagiv here? Shachar Sagiv has completely missed that pack by not being able to get his cap on, and he led into there. So there is a mathematical possibility that Hayden Wilde wins the championship series here before we arrive at Neom. Now, it relies on a lot of athletes doing a lot of things, and it's very remote. But at the moment, he is 11 points clear of Vasco Valasa, who's well back. He's 14 points clear of Matt Hauser, who's in that group somewhere. And then he's 16 points clear of Taylor Reid, 17 from Shachar Sagiv, and 20 clear of Chase McQueen. Now, there's 20 points on offer for the win in Saudi Arabia. If he is indeed 20 points clear of everybody else, well, he's got it won. But I think it's a very remote possibility, but he will have one hand on the championship series win if things continue the way they are.
Just to update you there, I've just seen a split. I didn't think I saw Matt Hauser come through in that pack. He is 53 seconds down.
Wow,
Something
you're right.
happened to him in that final bike lap, and unfortunately that probably does play into whether, you know, Hayden can actually take home the victory today. He's currently going into the water. He went in 15th position, 53 seconds down on Hayden Wilde. There must have been an incident on that final lap.
We'll see if we can find out exactly what has happened, but you're right, Matt Hauser has had another dose of bad luck somehow on the bike. He's probably in the water now, but he is well back, 53.1 seconds. So, such bad luck for the Australian. We'll see if we can find out what has happened. So, Hayden Wilde, well, it's all just playing into his hands at the moment. So, as they went into the swim, Hayden Wilde would come out if they finished in the same order as they went into the swim. 22 points clear, which means that he would win the championship series. If indeed it finishes in the same way as it is now, with Matt Hauser out and Vasco Velasa well down.
They're definitely eating into Hayden Wilde's lead here, but you know, it's a 2K run. I just don't think anybody's going to be able to outrun him at this stage. He's just been formidable throughout, and this is just such an impressive performance from Hayden Wilde. He's from the start just been outstanding.
Yeah, he's looked pretty comfortable all day long, hasn't he? And whilst those guys are getting closer to him, it's not too surprising with the likes of the swim quality in that pack. I just don't see anyone touching him once he gets onto the run, and that's even without the 2 short shoots that he's got to take as well.
So Hayden Wilde, he won't know what's happened behind him. He'll be aiming for the race win. He could pick up the championship series win as well before we even arrive in Neom, but we will see how it all shakes out now. Wilde back up into the Boa Endure transition area, and there is Riddle, Nina behind him. Great swim from Jamie Riddle.
We're also just hearing that Matt Hauser is now out of the race. I haven't had that completely confirmed yet, but I have just seen something that says Matt Hauser did not go back into the water for the final round. You can only think he may have been caught in a crash and unfortunately be injured.
Well, we will find out, but there is 2 kilometres left to go in this one. And if it finishes like this, Hayden Wilde will win this race and the title. It's possible he will have an unassailable lead. And he looks so comfortable doing it. Huge crowd here in Toulouse, big student city, big triathlon city. And they're enjoying a masterclass from the Kiwi, who laid it down in that first bike in stage 3 and has never been headed since then. He also has the short shoot, although he will not need it.
No, Hayden's sitting pretty now, and even though Kenji Nena is the one in the back of shot there, putting in another amazing performance, I just can't see Hayden Wilde getting caught. We've also got in 3rd and 4th place there 2 Eagles, Jamie Riddle, Dorian Connix, and I have to correct myself, it does appear that Matt Hauser is still in the race. He's back up to 12th position. He was coming out of that final transition. He's 33 seconds down. Now that's an unassailable difference that he cannot really get. He can't get that gap back to Hayden Wilde, but he has got 2 short shoots to take, and so he might be able to claw back a few spots on this final run.
It's possible that Taylor Reid is now the man that could take away his compatriots' championship win, because Taylor Reid is currently 14 or 16 points back. And if Reid can limit the damage, and he is here in the top 6, he might just deny Wilde, as Nina's having the race of his life ahead of Connix and Riddle. And we're going to head down now to Annie Emerson, as down the short chute goes Hayden Wilde for the first of 2 times. He's with Annie Emerson.
So much happening out there, Tim, but how can an athlete have such bad luck in 2 races?
It's tough. I mean, that's how much they're on the limit. Hayden does the small things so well, and he puts everyone on the back foot. You know, we got a 5-second penalty with Maddie, and then the crash on the corner. But he's a fighter. He'll fight through for points. So, yeah, my heart breaks for him. It really does.
Okay, good luck for the rest of the race.
Confirmation that Taylor Reid needs to finish in 5th or above to stop his Kiwi compatriot from winning the championship series here and forcing him to go to Neom, and he's 5th by 2 seconds from Chase McQueen. So McQueen, another shark. There you can see Reid in the middle on his own in the purple. So McQueen and Brownlee are behind. So if either of them pass Taylor Reid, Hayden Wilde is your championship winner.
Much to the home crowd's delight, Dorian Connix has now moved into 2nd position. And I just wonder if he's paced that first lap of the run a little bit better. Like, again, we saw in the women's race, Taylor Spivey started a bit more conservatively. I think Dorian has done the same. And, you know, can he power through to hold on for 2nd ahead of Kenji?
Well, it's all
600.
Hayden Wilde, isn't it? He's looking like it's just no one's going to get even close to him. That gap back to the nearest person is going out, if anything, and he's just going to storm home here in Toulouse.
It's just a matter of what exactly Hayden Wilde wins. He's going to pick up his 3rd round win. He won the triple mix in London. He won last time out in Malibu in the Enduro, and now he's going to win the 2nd triple mix here in Toulouse, barring some major incident. And Jonny Brownlee has overtaken Chase McQueen. Can McQueen hang on to 5th to deny Wilde the championship series win and force him to go then to Neom? And then there will be 2 Kiwis, so the championship will go to New Zealand. It will just be out of Reed and Wilde. But now, that's Reed overtaking Riddle and moving into 4th position, and it's Brownlee who's in the box seat.
Apparently Hauser is also really moving up the field right now, and if he moves up enough positions in this last, 500 metres of this run, that could also deny Hayden walking away with the overall victory today. So, yeah, a lot going on behind that could really determine how this championship unfolds.
Well, I think we know how it's going to unfold. We just don't know how long it's going to take to unfold. It's already basically unfolded as on goes the Red Bull headband. Got to keep the sponsors happy. And it's Nina up against Connix for the 2nd place. So Dorian Connix coming back in after having one race in 2018, one race in 2019. Of course, coming off a win in Bergen where he denied Christian Blumenfeld the home advantage. Hauser has overtaken Brownlee and McQueen, which means that Hauser, courtesy of, as Non said, a fantastic run, is going to deny Wilde. We are pretty much written Hauser off as terms of anything, but it doesn't matter for the Falcon. He is going to come on to the black carpet, wave the Falcon wings, pick up a shark and cross the line. A little bit of showmanship. The shark wins and the Falcon comes 2nd here in Toulouse. And he won't win the championship, but he will win this race and head in. And Connix finishes 2nd, coming back for his debut. A breakthrough podium for Kenji. Nina finishing 3rd. He's given everything. Hauser comes back for an incredible 4th. I cannot believe he has run back to that from 53 seconds down. It doesn't seem possible.
Just shows you doing the little things right in these races are so important. Matt Hauser with that crash, but also with that time penalty. He's going to be walking away again from today thinking, what if?
Matt Hauser is athletically unparalleled, but cannot seem to get the little bits correct. He's had some amazing single legs. He's the fastest man in mixed team relay in the world. No one has set a faster time for the mixed team relay distances, which are similar to this. But Hayden Wilde gets it done because he gets every single thing right in the course of a race. And the many fans of Toulouse has seen some incredible racing as athletes are still crossing the line. Almost 90 seconds back. And we had some eliminated athletes already, but Hauser and Reed both in still with a mathematical shout. But it needs Hayden Wilde to basically have a DNF in Neom, and he's put one hand on it. Let's go down to Annie Emerson right now in the Boa and Jewel recovery area.
First of all, congratulations. Hauser denied you the overall series win by coming from nowhere after a crash. What are your thoughts on that incredible race? And congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, finally had some good swims today. I knew, well, we started the 2nd round and everything was super close, and I was like, well, do I just sit and wait for the last round? That's what I did. I got in the water first and just try to go as hard as I can for that first part. I knew everyone was going to come through because we're so close, and got to that last round, and I was like, I just need to put my head down and go for it on the bike, and I got a really good buffer. Still swam pretty well. I think they put maybe 15 seconds onto me, but I had a good buffer, and then yeah, it was really nice to run away with it.
Outstanding race. Congratulations, Hayden. And our 2nd place finisher, Dorian Connix. Dorian, on home soil, so to speak. You haven't raced like this for a long time. How did that feel?
It feels so hard. It was very nice to race here with all this crowd in front, who are not having a lot of race in front, and it feels good to race here.
Did you feel the support? Did you feel the support? Did that help you?
Yeah, I felt it like I never did before. My head is still noisy.
And your thoughts very quickly on Hauser, Hayden Wild. What a performance from him.
Yeah, Hayden start so strong on the last. We had no chance. We tried to ride with few guys, but yeah, he was too strong.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Congratulations. Kenji Nena, come along. He's just hosing himself down. Oh, I'm going to take that hug. I don't mind that you're sweaty and wet. I'm very happy for you. Third here today. It's been a long time coming, but you deserve that. You really do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm just ecstatic. I can't actually comprehend what's just happened. I've had the race of my life. It was tough in Munich. I had the race of my life and then went to Asian Championships, had a terrible race, but I took a week off and then came into this race fresher this time and paid off. So I'm ecstatic. I can't even explain it. Thank you to everyone who supported me. I love the sport, and Super League just makes it a really nice concept for all spectators to watch. So I'm so happy. Thank you everyone in Toulouse for making this so special.
We're very happy for you too, Kenji. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How good was that interview from all of those men, but especially Kenji Nena, who has been battling it out, and he's been dealing with some viruses and some illness and plenty going on, and you can see how much it means to him. And this was the bike that really blew it apart for Hayden Wild. He said he'd wait in stage 2. He did that, and then he exploded in stage 3. First into the water, as he said. He had a couple of good swims. Jonny Brownlee just heading down to the swim with his bike helmet on, and then realising that had happened, just thought he'd turn around, go and put it back. Doesn't matter how much experience you have, the pace of Super League can catch you out. But it didn't do that for Hayden Wild, who ran it home in the end. And it was an insane run from Matt Hauser to deny Wild the championship win, keep it alive. And it's only he or Taylor Reid who can take it from Hayden Wild, who carried the Shark across the line and has just been supreme here in Toulouse. So we look at the results now as the sun continues to shine down on this magnificent city, and it was Connick's 9 seconds back from Nena, who picked up that well-deserved third place to stand on the podium for the first time, and Matt Hauser had the absolute run of his life to come back to 4th from Taylor Reid, who is still in with a shout for the overall with a 5th place in the end, and he's having a great season too. Jamie Riddle made it 3 Eagles in the top 6 from Brownlee, who nearly swam in his helmet. Cannot believe that still. That's quite unbelievable. But the water calms down, the sky's clear, and here is the men's leaderboard, and Hayden Wild sits 17 points ahead of Matt Hauser and Taylor Reid, and of course that covers 20 points, which is the maximum on offer in Neom. Kenji Nena moves into 3rd, Vasco Velasa drops down to 5th. From Brownlee, Chase McQueen, Chacha Sagiv, Jamie Riddle and Emil Holm, and that wraps us up from here in Toulouse. On behalf of the commentary team and myself, we hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you back very soon.
Oh, Jonny, 6 in the series so far. Not quite what you want, but it doesn't sort of go very well when you try and run into the water with your helmet on, does it?
Yeah, should we pretend that never happened? Yeah, that was really embarrassing. I thought, wow, I had a quick transition there, and then I touched my head and thought, oh no, that shouldn't be on my head. Yeah, it's one of those days. I made far too many mistakes today, and I think when you're kind of on the back foot, that's when you do make the mistakes, because you don't have the time. And I felt like I was on the back foot all day today, and yeah, it's just fast racing. I never quite got on top of it.
Can I just say, you are not the only one that made a few mistakes. Hauser tried to put on his trainers before he went in the swim as well. You're not the only one. You talked about the course, so very tough to overtake, so narrow in parts.
Yeah, well, it's just so fast and furious. If you got caught in the back, which I kind of always did, I just couldn't get past people, and then you're kind of holding on, and there's you either get past people and risk kind of crashes and corners, as we saw, or you kind of hold back, and Yeah, that's Super League racing though. It benefits the people at the front, and I wasn't one of them today.
But let's talk about this town and this race course, because it's stunning. It's got to be one of the best that we've seen in Super League.
Yeah, so, well, straight from when we've been here a few days ago, to go to the presentation yesterday and have a whole square full of people is pretty incredible. And yeah, even this morning, the little things that were not so little of 100 volunteers turned up today to help set out the course, which was absolutely amazing. And it kind of reminds me of being back home, you know, in Britain. We do put on great events like this, and in France as well. I always used to race in France. I used to race 3 or 4 times a year for about 10 years, and I haven't been back here for a long time, so it's nice to be back.
We will look forward to seeing you in Neom. We know you haven't been well. From here, it's upwards. Jonny, Brownlee, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I'll see you then.
Jonny still smiling as always, but Jonny's still smiling as always, but finding it difficult at the back. At the front, though, was Hayden Wild, and he was just supreme. We're going to head down now to the medal presentations. The medals to be presented by Julie Faramond, the Vice Mayor for Sports Clubs of the City of Toulouse, and what supporters the City of Toulouse have been of this event. And there she is. And a very happy Michelle Dillon in the background, along with Stu Hayes, the dual managers of the Sharks, who, why wouldn't they be? They sit pretty on top of the team standings, and they also sit pretty on top of the podium. But first onto the podium is Kenji Nina, who really deserves it and picks up a rare Scorpions podium. Congratulations to Kenji, and a big cheer we're about to hear for Dorian Connix, who does the job at home, and as he said, best crowd support he's ever had, which is a fantastic thing to hear.
Team Eagles, Dorian Connix.
Connix with a very popular second place, and he really had to fight for it as well as he comes back into the series after a few years break. And he's done so much in the sport during that time. But no one could catch the Falcon, Hayden Wild, who wins his 3rd of the season. Wonderful crowd down here, and a great race as well. We thought Non and Vix, they were going to be close there for a while until Hayden Wild did what he does, and that bike at the end of at the start of the 3rd stage really just sent it.
Yeah, he was unstoppable, really. He was so clinical through that sort of mini transition, if you like, that they did at the beginning of stage 3, whereas others sort of fell by the wayside. He was so supreme, but really nice to see him celebrating that lead with, or that win with the Shark.
Yeah, and the Sharks at the top at the moment. The Scorpions jump up a spot above the Cheetahs, but it is very, very tight, and all of them are in with a shot with that 320 grand, and it all comes down to the grand final in 3 weeks' time. Four down and 1 to go as the celebrations continue here in Toulouse. We hope you've enjoyed Super League Triathlon. We'll see you back in 3 weeks' time. SuperLeagueTriathlon.com for